Chapter 720. At this time, Bai Shi, the 99th and the 87th generations with great fanfare, were rushing to the headquarters of the First Heaven sect with Feng Huanzi, the prisoner. Along the way they attracted the attention of many people. Countless immortals, including some reclusive celestial emperors, were looking at them. However, no one was willing to interfere in this matter. Vaguely, many immortals in the celestial world had a premonition that the First Heaven sect, which had been unshakable for many years, would soon face the most terrifying challenge. Moreover, the most subtle point was that the situation had developed to an extremely unfavorable situation for the First Heaven sect. However, it seemed that the sect leader of the First Heaven sect, the patriarch of the First Heaven sect, did not show any signs of personally handling the matter. This was worth pondering. At this time, according to the original plan, Feng Huanzi directly took out a Jade Messenger token and used soul voice transmission to speak to Bai Shi and the others. Now, I'm going to send a message to ask for help from the First Heaven sect. I'll do as Master asked and propose an exchange. Then I'll lure the people of the First Heaven sect to the Windward Canyon. Bai Shi and the others all nodded. Immediately after, Feng Huanzi pretended to be weak, hurried, and terrified as he sent out a message to the communication token. On the other hand, in the First Heaven sect, the 6 low-level celestial emperors of the First Heaven sect, as well as the 5 low-level celestial emperors who had come from outside to help, were in full swing discussing how to rescue Feng Huanzi. Everyone, the best way now is to lure the guest elders of the White Phoenix sect here. If we can trick them into coming to the First Heaven sect, we'll be able to catch a turtle in a jar. I'm sure they won't be able to return. Yes, it's best if we can lure them here. It's foolproof. It's better than our long journey. A long journey. However, they're not fools. How can they give up their advantage and send themselves into the tiger's den? How can we lure these guys into the trap? These low-level celestial emperors all racked their brains to think. It's very difficult. After a while they all shook their heads. Why don't we take the initiative to send out a message and exchange hostages with them? We can promise those guest elders of the White Phoenix sect something that they can't refuse. For example, we'll give them a large number of supreme-grade fairy artifacts and elixirs, and we'll even recognize their status in the immortal realm and divide their territory. In short, they can demand as much as they want, and we'll just pretend to agree to their demands while setting up layers of ambushes. When they enter the territory of the Tianyi Palace, we have 11 low-level immortal emperors and a large number of level 10 true immortals. Level 9 true immortals attack together. In an instant they'll be annihilated. This plan is perfect, but I'm afraid they won't fall for it. The only way is to make as many promises as possible so that they can't refuse. I believe that they will weigh the pros and cons. Killing Feng Huanzi will not benefit them at all. It's still very difficult to get them to come to us on their own initiative. Why don't we compromise? Compromise? How should we compromise? Lure them to a place not far from the Tianyi Palace. It was very difficult to get them to come to the Tianyi Palace, but he had to settle for the next best thing. The closer they were to the Tianyi Palace, the better. I think as long as we don't exchange hostages within the Tianyi Palace, they may also accept it. Yes. Make a request to them and lure them to a place not far from the Tianyi Palace. We'll set up an ambush in advance and catch them all in one fell swoop. At this point, these low-level immortal emperors finally had some ideas. By the way, not far from the headquarters of the Tianyi Palace, there is a canyon called Windward Canyon. The terrain of this canyon is dangerous, and there are some naturally formed illusory labyrinths in it. There are also disciples of the Tianyi Palace secretly stationed there. It's a portal and a secret stronghold of the Tianyi Palace. If we can lure the foreign elders of the White Phoenix sect to the Windward Canyon, they will definitely die. Yes, the Windward Canyon is a good place to kill people. Even low-level immortal emperors may get lost when they enter the naturally formed illusory labyrinths for the first time. Moreover, our grand ancestor has attached great importance to the Windward Canyon in recent years. He has even personally set up some illusory formations in the Windward Canyon. Good. That's a good idea. So, we should find a way to send a message to White Phoenix City now. First, we should confirm whether Feng Huanzi is still alive. Then, we should try to be as gentle and humble as possible. We should deceive them and make them think that the Tianyi Palace doesn't want to bother them anymore. Then we can promise them a large ransom so that they can't refuse. Finally, we can lure them to the Windward Canyon. Finally, these low-level immortal emperors had reached an agreement. However, at this moment, Buzz, an elder of the Tianyi Palace, made a trembling sound in his arms. This elder was Feng Huanzi's master. Feng Huanzi was his favorite disciple, the chief disciple under his command. He and Feng Huanzi had established a close relationship as if they were father and son. Wait. The elder's face palpitated and trembled. He took out a jade messaging token from his arms. He scanned it with his celestial awareness. It was a message from Feng Huanzi. Everyone don't talk. Hold your breath. Feng Huanzi has sent a message back. The elder couldn't help but say. Then, from the communication token came Feng Huanzi's terrified and helpless voice, as well as his weak wails. Master. Master. I've been captured by the enemy. It's so painful. Now, those foreign officials of the White Phoenix sect are going to kill me. Master, you must save this disciple's life. At this moment, Feng Huanzi's voice was filled with a desperate sobbing tone, which was extremely vivid. Feng Huanzi, don't be afraid. I'll save you. The elder roared. What's going on now? Tell those foreign officials of the White Phoenix sect that we, the Channy Palace, are willing to redeem you at all costs. What do they want? Tell them to make their demands. As long as you can come back alive, the Channy Palace can give them everything they want. Master, those foreign officials of the White Phoenix sect. They did make a demand. They want the Channy Palace to use its wealth to redeem me. They want the latest map of the immortal realm and 5 billion celestial coins. And 5 billion celeste. Feng Huanzi screamed. 5 billion celestial coins. It should be noted that a medium-sized sect in the immortal realm like the White Phoenix sect, which controlled the income of a teleportation formation, only had about 1 billion celestial coins. This amount of 5 billion celestial coins was enough to bankrupt an ordinary sect in the immortal realm. However, for a giant like the Channy Palace, 5 billion celestial coins was equivalent to a year's profit. It was not a big deal. It was not a big deal. Master, you have to save me. I don't want to die. I have a chance to become an immortal emperor in my lifetime. Feng Huanzi yelled. Calm down. Feng Huanzi. The latest map of the immortal realm and 5 billion celestial coins. The Channy Palace can afford it. We can satisfy them. Tell them this at once. Then, tell the elders of the White Phoenix sect to come to the Windy Canyon and we'll make the deal. The elder blinked his eyes as he spoke. The low-level immortal emperors around were all very nervous. No. They had set the bait and were waiting for the big fish to take the bait. Bai Shi's cold and arrogant voice came from the other side of the communication token. The Windy Canyon? Yes. The elder shouted immediately. You are the foreign elder of the White Phoenix sect, right? Fine, for the sake of Feng Huanzi's life, the Channy Palace is willing to pay the price. Moreover, the purpose of the Channy Palace is to make peace. It is better to squash enmity than keep it alive. The Channy Palace really doesn't want to be entangled with you anymore. So we agree to your conditions. I hope you won't hurt Feng Huanzi. As for the Windy Canyon, it is not within the sphere of influence of the Channy Palace. It is a neutral area. We will make the deal in the neutral area. If you go to the Channy Palace to make the deal, you must have some scruples. So, let's all take a step back. We will make the deal in the neutral area, the Windy Canyon. This is fair to everyone. Don't worry, for the Channy Palace, the value of Feng Huanzi is far greater than a map and 5 billion celestial coins. We won't play any tricks. If anything goes wrong, we will lose the big picture because of a small gain. Oh. Bai Shi pretended to be thinking. He fell silent as if he was frowning and thinking. The low-level immortal emperors of the Channy Palace all held their breath, for fear that Bai Shi would refuse. If they refused and asked them to go to White Phoenix City to make the deal, they would be in a passive position. After dozens of breaths, good. Let's make the deal in the Windy Canyon. I hope you won't play any tricks, otherwise Feng Huanzi will definitely die. In 3 days we will make the deal in the Windy Canyon. Bai Shi said coldly. Good. Deal. The elder of the Channy Palace let out a long sigh of relief. The call ended. Good. Our plan is almost successful. The Windy Canyon will be our home field. Now let's start to make arrangements immediately. Set up more ambushes in the Windy Canyon. Use the illusion of the maze hanging in the Windy Canyon to ambush us. The elder of the Channy Palace immediately gave the order and then, ha! Suddenly the elder burst into laughter. In addition, we will also divide into 2 groups. We have 11 low-level immortal emperors. 6 of them will lead a large number of level 10 and level 9 true immortals into the Windy Canyon to deal with the foreign officials of the White Phoenix sect and rescue Feng Huanzi. The remaining 5 will lead the elites into White Phoenix City quietly and destroy the foundation of White Phoenix City. Raze it to the ground. Hearing that, ha! Brilliant, brilliant, The people of White Phoenix City will bring Feng Huanzi to the Windy Canyon to make the deal with us. They must have sent out all their elites. In this case, the rear will be empty, and we will directly attack the enemy and destroy White Phoenix City. Ah! There's no time to lose. Let's divide into 2 groups and take action immediately. This time we will win a big victory. On the other side of Baishur and the others. Those idiots, I can't believe they took the initiative to make the deal in the Windy Canyon. Baishur grinned hideously. The Windy Canyon. A strange smile also appeared at the corner of Feng Huanzi's mouth. When I was in the Qianni Palace, I was in charge of the Windy Canyon. I know everything about the Windy Canyon like the back of my hand. I know the Windy Canyon better than those elders. To be continued. Chapter 721. Things went according to the plan of the low-level immortal emperors of the Qianni Palace. They made a deal in the Windward Canyon. The Qianni Palace exchanged the latest map of the immortal realm and 5 billion celestial coins for the hostage. Feng Bangle. At this time, the elders of the Qianni Palace were deploying manpower. First of all, 5 low-level immortal emperors led 20 level 10 genuine immortals and 40 level 9 genuine immortals. They took a big detour and secretly headed for White Phoenix City. They were going to take advantage of the situation. Take advantage of the empty nest to take White Phoenix City. Raze it to the ground. On the other hand, the 6 low-level immortal emperors hurriedly deployed dozens of level 10 genuine immortals to the Windward Canyon and hid in some space formations. After everything was ready, the 6 low-level immortal emperors breathed a long sigh of relief, and their faces showed a ferocious expression. Good, now everything is completely under our control. In the Battle of the Windward Canyon, we will wash away our shame and wipe out all those arrogant foreign officials of the White Phoenix sect. Kill them all. Baishur, the 99th, the 87th, and Feng Bangle were unhurriedly heading for the Windward Canyon. Now, those bastards of the Qianni Palace will definitely set up a trap in the Windward Canyon and wait for us. Baishur's eyes were full of arrogance. He didn't know that Patriarch Qianni and the other middle-level immortal emperors were now injured and couldn't come. The Qianni Palace could only send low-level immortal emperors. Moreover, the people of the Qianni Palace had no idea that Baishur and the others were middle-level immortal emperors. Baishur himself calculated that the Qianni Palace might send middle-level immortal emperors. Therefore, he couldn't let his guard down completely. Baishur looked at Feng Bangle inquiringly. Feng Bangle. You used to be in charge of the Windward Canyon, so you know the situation inside very well. Now tell us the specific situation and don't leave anything out. Okay. Feng Bangle nodded matter-of-factly. Then Feng Bangle closed his eyes slightly. His expression showed that he was deep in thought. The 99th also said. This time the task given to us by our master is to get the latest map of the immortal realm, and then take the opportunity to kill a few elites of the Qianni Palace to discourage them again. Master told us not to fight. To destroy the Qianni Palace they had to do it bit by bit, nibbling away at it gradually. They hoped that everyone would not act rashly. When the Qianni sect is almost completely annihilated by us, Master will personally lead the troops to attack the headquarters of the Qianni sect. That's what I'm happy about. Baishur and the others nodded in agreement. At this moment, Feng Huanzi finally spoke. Alright everyone, I've gathered all the information about the people in Windward Canyon, as well as the locations of some natural mazes, man-made mazes, and several spatial formations that can hide immortals in a single divine sense. Now, I'll input this divine sense into your brain so that you can directly grasp the detailed situation in Windward Canyon. I've been in the Windward Canyon for many years. In the entire Qianni Palace, I'm the one who knows the Windward Canyon the best. No one can compare to me. After saying that, Feng Huanzi's eyes flickered continuously as he inserted balls of divine sense into the minds of the first reincarnation, the 99th reincarnation and the 87th reincarnation. Soon. Oh, so that's how it is. It turns out that there are such formations. These places can hide people, and this place is the safest place. This place is the blind spot of the Windward Canyon surveillance. Baishur and the others all nodded. Good. Now we're almost 99% sure that we can get out of Windward Canyon with ease. And before we leave, we can also destroy some of the most important formations in Windward Canyon. Good, very good. Baishur laughed heartily. In White Phoenix City. In the headquarters of the White Phoenix sect. Xiao Han sat casually in a study, flipping through some books about the immortal world. The 98th reincarnation, the 97th reincarnation, and the 96th reincarnation were serving him obediently. These books record many strange things about the immortal world. It's also very interesting to read, Xiao Han said with a smile. By now the battle between Xiao Han and the Qianni Palace had reached a peak. However, Xiao Han's temperament had become more and more stable, with a sense of calmness. Master, now the fluctuation of your soul is really getting more and more harmonious with the immortal world. Your entire aura is about to merge into the space of the immortal world. In fact, Master, your accumulation is completely enough. However, to become an immortal in the immortal world, mortals must be incomparably integrated with the immortal world. However, Master, the day of you becoming an immortal is getting closer and closer. Once you become an immortal, you can directly open the last layer of the treasure of the old master of the invincible saber and obtain endless treasures and the final inheritance of the way of the broadsword, Bai Shi said with a smile. Oh, I also hope that day will come as soon as possible, Xiao Han said with a nod. However, the urgent matter at hand is to get the latest map of the immortal world as soon as possible, accurately find the location of the Red Crane Canyon, and obtain special plants from the immortal world to help my sect master and the others restore their cultivation and become immortals in one step. After a pause, Xiao Han put down the scroll in his hand. Bai Shi and the others have been gone for several days. According to the journey, they will soon be close to the headquarters of the Qianni Palace. I believe that they can successfully complete this task. With that, Xiao Han stretched his body and walked out leisurely. Outside, the sun was shining brightly and colorful butterflies were flying. At this time, Bai Fengzi also hurried over to report something to Xiao Han. Young Master, Bai Fengzi walked over and bowed respectfully. Reporting to Young Master, according to your instructions, we have announced to the whole immortal world that we are willing to accept those sects and rogue cultivators who have been suppressed by the Qianni Palace. We will let them come to us and fight against the Qianni Palace together. How is it? Xiao Han said with a smile. Well, so far only 3 sects have come to us. In addition, only a few thousand idle immortals have come to us, mainly perfected immortals below level 5. However, more than half of the immortals who originally lived in our White Phoenix sect have returned, Bai Fengzi reported seriously. Not bad. Xiao Han nodded. Take it slow. I believe that when Bai Shi and the others once again dampen the prestige of the Qianni Palace, the status of the Qianni Palace will be seriously shaken. It will be seriously shaken. At that time, all the sects in the immortal world who are dissatisfied with the Qianni Palace may come to us. That is how we will gradually destroy the foundation of the Qianni Palace. Young Master, you are wise, Bai Fengzi said sincerely. Behind Xiao Han, Generation 98's eyes were filled with the most violent fighting spirit. What a pity, Master. If I could go to the Qianni Palace with Brother Bai Shi and the others, I would definitely kill a few immortal emperors of the Qianni Palace for Master. Ha 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 ha. Xiao Han laughed and shook his head. There is no hurry. There are plenty of opportunities. However, at this moment, Generation 97's eyes suddenly narrowed, and the corners of his mouth pulled into a hideous smile. Master, something happened. Oh. Xiao Han touched his nose slightly. I released my celestial senses and found that not far away, there are a few immortal emperors leading a group of level 10 perfected immortals. Level 9 perfected immortals are heading toward the White Phoenix sect. They are very fast. They seem to be using some kind of speed-type magic treasure. They will arrive at White Phoenix City soon. Is that so? Xiao Han was slightly taken aback. Then he also spread out his soul psywave. Soon Xiao Han nodded repeatedly. Yes, they are coming aggressively. They even deliberately hid their aura, but they can't hide it from us. It seems, after a pause, Xiao Han laughed heartily. It must be the people of the Qianni Palace. Ah, I know. The Qianni Palace must be trying to take drastic measures. They think that my people brought the wind bracelets to trade with them, leaving White Phoenix City empty. That's why they attacked. Ah. They seem to be a few low-level immortal emperors. Xiao Han's eyes flashed with fierce killing intent. There are not many low-level immortal emperors in the Qianni Palace. I don't know why the Qianni Palace still hasn't sent any mid-level immortal emperors here. According to the information I have, Patriarch Qianni is a mid-level immortal emperor. Some of his friends are also mid-level immortal emperors. Could it be that they suffered some losses when they forcibly took my plane from the mortal world to the immortal world? Forget it, let's not worry about that for now. After a pause, Xiao Han's voice became fierce and domineering. Listen up, the Qianni Palace sent a few low-level immortal emperors to us. Kill them all. The Qianni Palace might be able to withstand the killing of level 10 genuine immortals, but if they lose a few low-level immortal emperors, I think the foundation of the Qianni Palace will be in danger. This time the Channy Palace has made a mistake. Yes, Master. The 98th, 97th, and 96th roared in unison in response. Their eyes were filled with terrifying murderous intent. Bai Fengzi and the others fainted again when they heard Xiao Han was going to order his men to kill the immortal emperors. Immortal emperors. Even the lowest level immortal emperors were immortal emperors. Among the countless genuine immortals in the immortal world, immortal emperors were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. In the immortal world, the death of every immortal emperor was a nightmare. The Channy Palace. In the Heavenly Palace, Patriarch Tianyi and the other middle-level immortal emperors were completely wrapped in auspicious clouds of immortal qi. They were all resting with their eyes closed. Brother Tianyi, how's the battle against the White Phoenix sect going? A middle-level immortal emperor with a goatee asked. Patriarch Tianyi pondered for a moment, then said with a relaxed frown. The elders of the First Heaven sect have already gathered 11 low-level celestial emperors to kill the White Phoenix sect after a thorough plan. 11 low-level immortal emperors? The eyes of some middle-level immortal emperors lit up. That's almost a sure win. Even if the White Phoenix sect has 1 and 2 medium-level immortal emperors among their foreign officials, they won't be able to withstand the combined attack of 11 low-level immortal emperors and a large number of high-level genuine immortals. All right. Brother Tianyi, there's no doubt that the White Phoenix sect will be destroyed. Now let's cultivate in seclusion. Don't be distracted by external forces. The sooner we recover to our peak condition, the sooner we can come out of seclusion to capture Xiao Han. Alright, let's cultivate in seclusion. Patriarch Tianyi waved his hand. Suddenly the entire heavenly palace turned completely dark. In the Windward Canyon, 6 low-level immortal emperors had arrived at the Windward Canyon with a large group of high-level genuine immortals. Everyone set up an ambush. The leading elder roared in a low voice as he gave the order. Yes, elder. The large group of high-level genuine immortals answered in unison. The next moment, whoosh, 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 countless high-level genuine immortals scattered and disappeared like ripples. They hid in some of the spatial formations inside the Windward Canyon. They set up an ambush waiting for the moment to strike. Now, we just have to wait for the people of the White Phoenix sect to walk into the trap. The elders of the Channy Palace looked gloomy. I'd like to see who exactly these foreign officials of the White Phoenix sect are. To be continued. Chapter 722. Windward Canyon. The 2 sides of the Windward Canyon were steep mountain walls. The peaks of the mountains were completely covered by immortal clouds, and one could vaguely see some sturdy fortifications. Some level 7 and level 8 true immortals of the Channy Palace were stationed at the top of the mountain. Between the 2 mountain walls was a surging river. The sound of the surging river was like the charge of a magnificent army. At this moment, 4 elders of the Channy Palace were already floating in the air outside the Windward Canyon, standing with their hands behind their backs. As for the other 2 low-level immortal emperors, they were hidden in a secret spatial array within the canyon. The 4 elders and low-level perfected immortals all released their immortal senses to probe. He hasn't arrived yet, one of the elders said with a frown. Looks like those guys are still on their way. There's no hurry, another elder said. The later they arrive, the better, so that we have enough time to prepare. Right now, our people are already in position to ambush them. With a single command, countless high-level perfected immortals will attack with their magic treasures. In addition to the full attack of our 6 low-level immortal emperors, even if the opponent is a mid-level immortal emperor, he might still die with a grievance. Of course, the prerequisite is that we don't expose our murderous intent too early. We have to feign civility, and when necessary, we don't hesitate to lower our statuses and put on a pleasant expression to dispel their wariness. Alright, let's wait. I believe those traitors will arrive soon. On the other hand, the 100th generation, the 99th generation, and the 87th generation with the wind bracelets were approaching the Windward Canyon. Hong, 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 100 lives, 99 lives, 87 lives. Their immortal senses. It was released ahead of time. You should know. The energy of these 3 level 7 creatures from the alternate space was definitely equivalent to that of a medium-level immortal emperor. Therefore, the coverage of their spiritual senses and the sensitivity of their spiritual senses were definitely superior to those of the elders of the First Heaven Palace. Therefore, those low-level immortal emperor elders of the First Heaven sect had not discovered Bai Shi and the others. He was able to clearly understand the situation on the other side. Very soon, the expressions of the 100th generation, the 99th generation, and the 87th generation all became extremely strange. Then, ha ha ha, this? Ha ha ha. The three of them roared with laughter. You three, what are you doing? Feng Huanzi asked curiously. Windward Canyon is indeed full of traps. Baisher stopped laughing with a strange expression on his face. My immortal sense has swept over, but I actually didn't discover any mid-tier immortal emperor aura. Ha ha ha. That's right, on the surface, there are 4 low-level immortal emperors waiting for us outside the canyon. Inside the canyon, there were all kinds of spatial formations that could hide people and horses. We also found 2 low-level celestial emperors in the man-made traps in the nature maze. The rest are all perfected immortals. There aren't many level 10 perfected immortals. World 87 immediately said. Ah, I'm dying of laughter. I was wondering what kind of people the First Heaven sect would send to deal with us. But in the end they're still so petty. Haha, they didn't even send a middle-grade celestial emperor and only want to rely on a few low-grade celestial emperors. Ah, idiots. Feng Huanzi, the First Heaven sect is considered the most powerful sect in the immortal world. I didn't expect that they wouldn't even send a middle-grade celestial emperor. What a joke. If Master wants to destroy the Tianyi society, it will be a piece of cake. Baisher sneered. Feng Huanzi thought for a moment and said, the sect leader of the First Heaven sect, Patriarch Tianyi, is a middle-grade celestial emperor. Moreover, he has made friends with more than a dozen middle-grade celestial emperors. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be a problem to send a middle-grade celestial emperor. Alright, he should still be recuperating in seclusion? Alright. Baisher waved his hand. Now, we need to do some calculations. Since there aren't any middle-grade celestial emperors, just 6 low-level celestial emperors won't be able to stop us. However, we need to try our best to kill all the people of the First Heaven sect in the Windward Canyon and deal them a heavy blow. Therefore, we need to cooperate with each other and put on a good show. Not a single one of them can escape. Kill them all. Yes, we need to plan carefully. It won't be a problem to defeat them. We're just afraid that they will escape. For example, the 2 hidden low-level celestial emperors should also have top-grade celestial treasures. If we really fight and they see that something is wrong, they will immediately escape. I'm afraid we won't be able to do anything, Baisher 87 nodded. Yes, these level 7 creatures from the alternate dimension were equivalent to middle-grade celestial emperors in terms of cultivation realm and combat strength. However, they were at a disadvantage because they didn't have celestial treasures. Therefore, when facing low-level celestial emperors with various kinds of celestial treasures, they could defeat them by relying on their huge advantage in cultivation realm, but they couldn't crush them. Moreover, if there were 2 low-level celestial emperors with top-grade celestial artifacts besieging Baisher, it would take a lot of effort for Baisher to defeat them. They were at a disadvantage because they didn't have celestial artifacts or celestial treasures. They had to wait for Xiao Han to become an immortal and open the 4th layer of Immortal Emperor Ju Dao's treasure to unlock those celestial treasures. Only then could they equip Baisher and the other creatures from the alternate dimension with weapons and armor. Of course, the Saber Dao that Baisher and the others had mastered was also a great addition to their attack power. Let's do it this way. When we trade later, don't be too rash and show the enemy that we're weak. Don't release all your energy as soon as the battle starts. Baisher ordered. It's best to form a stalemate with the 4 low-level celestial emperors outside. Then, we can summon the 2 hidden low-level celestial emperors and annihilate them in one fell swoop. Okay, don't let any of them escape. We'll make a perfect contribution for our master. Phew, then let's get ready. Feng Huanzi immediately pretended to be struggling in pain. His weak and powerless appearance was extremely realistic. Feng Huanzi, I left a strand of saber chi in your body to temporarily seal your celestial force. Later, I'll act according to the situation and get rid of this saber chi. Remember, you're not an celestial emperor. You won't be able to help at all in the upcoming battle. Just take care of yourself, Baisher ordered. As they talked, they moved forward. Soon, they reached the area where the celestial senses of the 4 low-level celestial emperors of the First Heaven sect could cover. I'll keep my cultivation level at the level of a low-level celestial emperor. 99 lives, 87 lives, suppress your energy to the level of a level 10 perfected immortal. Baisher turned around and said, Okay, brother Baisher. Baisher walked in front with the aura of a low-level celestial emperor. 99 lives and 87 lives were obviously level 10 perfected immortals. They walked behind Baisher, one on the left and the other on the right. Feng Huanzi was sandwiched between 99 lives and 87 lives. Those B** stards have found us? Baisher's eyes lit up. Outside the Windward Canyon, the 4 low-level celestial emperors of the First Heaven sect had indeed found Baisher and the others. They're here. The 4 low-level celestial emperors were all trembling. Finally, these pieces of trash from the White Phoenix sect are here. The 4 low-level celestial emperors covered the area with their celestial senses at the same time. Their celestial senses. All of them began to tremble. It should be noted that the First Heaven sect had been defeated by these foreign elders of the White Phoenix sect. The most frustrating thing for the First Heaven sect was that they still didn't know what the foreign elders of the White Phoenix sect looked like and what their cultivation level was. Now they could finally see their true appearance. Soon, damn it. Shockingly, an elder of the Channy Palace couldn't help but swear. They're just a low-level celestial emperor with 2 level 10 perfected immortals. How dare you turn our Channy Palace upside down? The elder roared fiercely. We set up a heavy ambush, but the strongest of them is only a low-level celestial emperor. It seems that we've made a big fuss. The other 3 low-level celestial emperors were also angry. I thought they were some kind of middle-level celestial emperor with 3 heads and 6 arms. It turns out that they're just a low-level celestial emperor with 2 puny level 10 perfected immortals. We'll act according to the situation. We'll first rescue Feng Huanzi, then capture these 3 people. Torture, humiliate and kill them. On the other hand, a group of people of the First Heaven sect, who had circled to White Phoenix City with the help of a flying celestial artifact, had already arrived at the edge of White Phoenix City. This group of people was composed of 5 low-level celestial emperors, 20 level 10 perfected immortals, and 40 level 9 perfected immortals. It was also a very large force. It could shock the entire celestial realm. Everyone, let's stop here for a while. The leader of the low-level celestial emperors waved his hand. A huge jade sail was suspended in the void. We've traveled day and night and finally arrived at White Phoenix City before the Battle of Windward Canyon. This is the first time I've come to this small place. It's not easy. But soon this area will be completely wiped out. Not even a blade of grass will grow. Another low-level celestial emperor also smiled slightly. I'm afraid the Battle of Windward Canyon will start soon. Let's quickly destroy White Phoenix City, then turn around and go back to meet up. This time we'll work together and win a great victory. We'll completely restore the reputation of the First Heaven sect. I've already released my celestial sense to scan the area. There's not even a low-level celestial emperor in White Phoenix City. It seems that all the experts have come to Windward Canyon. Good, prepare to slaughter the city. White Phoenix City. The headquarters of White Phoenix sect. They're here. Xiao Han released his soul Psywave. There are a lot of people coming. 5 low-level celestial emperors, 20 level 10 perfected immortals, and 40 level 9 perfected immortals. Master, let's kill them. The 98th, 97th, and 96th generations all shouted. Wait. Xiao Han's mouth twitched. I don't want to fight. If you have celestial artifacts, each of you can fight against 2 low-level celestial emperors at most. Now the other side has 5 low-level celestial emperors and a large group of high-level perfected immortals. It'll be a waste of time if we fight. I want to end the battle quickly. Forget it, 95th generation. 94th generation. 93rd generation. Come out. Xiao Han made a prompt decision. With a move of his divine soul, he released 3 more level 7 creatures from the alternate dimension. Master. As soon as the 3 creatures from the alternate dimension came out, they followed Xiao Han's instructions and firmly suppressed their cultivation levels. 6 mid-level celestial emperors. It's only a matter of time before I win. Xiao Han smiled calmly. All right, let's go out and greet our honored guests. To be continued. Chapter 723. In the Windward Canyon, some distance away from the headquarters of the Channy Palace, Ibdu. This place was an outpost of the Channy Palace. Now there were hidden dangers in the Windward Canyon. A large number of soldiers were hiding in some spatial formations, including 2 low-level immortal emperors and a large number of level 10 and level 9 perfected immortals. They were hiding in the dark like tigers and poisonous insects lying on the side of a hill, ready to attack at any time. Outside the canyon, 4 low-level immortal emperors stood in a line. Their eyes were cold and their killing intent was restrained. Nebulae swirled around their bodies. Torrential celestial force spread out, causing a vacuum to form around their bodies. Right at this moment, in front of them, 4 figures appeared in the sight of the 4 low-level immortal emperors. Well, they're here. The 4 low-level immortal emperors didn't speak, but they exchanged glances. Then they sent a voice transmission to the people hiding in the canyon. The enemies are here. Get ready and listen to our orders. After rescuing the wind bracelets, kill them immediately. One of the 3 enemies is a low-level immortal emperor, and the other 2 are level 10 perfected immortals. As long as we exchange the wind bracelets, we won't have to hold back anymore. It'll be very easy to kill these guys. At this moment, Baishur, the 99th and the 87th, after perfect disguises, hijacked the wind bracelets and quickly approached the windward canyon. In fact, Baishur and the others had already perfectly controlled every blade of grass, every tree and every soldier in the windward canyon. They knew exactly where the ambush was, where the weakness was, and where the blind spots of the canyon were. They simply knew it like the back of their hand. Outside, the whole immortal world couldn't help but turn their attention to them. In fact, the battle in the Windward Canyon, and the battle in White Phoenix City. Now all the forces in the immortal world and the wandering immortals already knew about it. Countless immortals were distracted, watching closely with trembling hearts. Everyone knew that in these 2 battles, the Channy Palace, as the overlord of the immortal world, had already sent out low-level immortal emperors. That was enough attention. It could be said that these 2 battles were related to the future of the immortal world. Would the old forces still be strong? Or would a new force rise like a comet and replace them? Countless immortals in the world of immortals could sense that a battle of this level would be a struggle for power. He didn't have the ability to participate in it, so he could only spy a little. He might even get into trouble. However, none of the immortals were willing to give up the chance to spectate. In these 2 battles, the Channy Palace has a huge advantage. They had sent a total of 11 low-level immortal emperors. On the other hand, the White Phoenix sect's guest elders are powerless to resist. Even so, I still feel that we can't underestimate the guest elders of the White Phoenix sect. Previously, the First Heaven sect seemed to have a huge advantage. However, in front of the guest elders of the White Phoenix sect, they were unable to withstand a single blow. Maybe the Channy Palace didn't attract enough attention before. That's why they only sent level 10 true immortals. But this time it's different. This time all the low-level immortal emperors came out. However, on the other hand, if a few low-level celestial emperors of the First Heaven sect were killed, the foundation of the First Heaven sect would be greatly shaken. His position in the celestial world would fall apart. After all, the First Heaven sect has countless true immortals, but only a few low-level immortal emperors. The loss of one low-level immortal emperor is simply irreparable. You should know that even for a level 10 true immortal, it's very difficult to become an immortal emperor in one step. Alright, stop talking. The battle is about to begin. We'll know the result soon. Finally, the 2 sides were approaching each other. Master, elders, help me. Feng Huanzi immediately screamed for help. His face was pale and all his celestial power was gone. He looked like he was completely under someone's control. Fear, helplessness, fear, and all kinds of negative emotions were vividly displayed on his face. Shut up. Baishur turned around and glared at Feng Huanzi, his expression extremely cruel. Feng Huanzi seemed to be extremely afraid and immediately stopped talking. Humph. Feng Huanzi's master, a low-level immortal emperor, changed his expression dramatically. His eyes were full of intense hatred and killing intent, and he sneered. Everyone, guest elders of the White Phoenix sect, please don't make things difficult for my disciple Feng Huanzi. Let's make a fair deal this time. It's best if it's done fairly. Baishur smiled awkwardly. I believe that you can tell that I've played a little trick on Feng Bangle. Now, with just a thought, I can make Feng Bangle's body explode into pieces and kill him. Feng Huanzi is a core disciple of the First Heaven sect, a level 10 true immortal. If he dies, I'm afraid the reputation of the First Heaven sect will not be very good. So, don't try to play any tricks in front of us. Master, Feng Huanzi's face was full of bitterness. He wanted to say something but stopped on second thought. Alright, Feng Huanzi, don't worry, we will definitely save you. The low-level immortal emperor of the First Heaven sect waved his hand and stared at Baishur. In that case, we will give you what you want, and you will immediately remove the restriction inside Feng Huanzi's body. I also warn you, don't play any tricks. Otherwise, even if Feng Huanzi dies, you will be buried with him. The next moment, 2 level 10 true immortals appeared at the entrance of the valley. One of them was holding a scroll in his hand, and the other was holding a storage ring. The elder of the First Heaven sect said, "We have already prepared the latest map of the immortal realm and the 5 billion celestial coins you want. Now, Please enter the Windward Valley to carry out the transaction. Bai Shi and the others were all startled. It seemed that the elders of the First Heaven sect wanted to lure them into the valley and then besiege them. This was like catching a turtle in a jar. However, for Bai Shi and the others, they were also very eager to enter the canyon. Only in this way could they kill all the elites of the Channy Palace in one fell swoop and create a bloody case in the immortal world. Isn't it better to carry out the transaction here? Why do you want to enter the valley? Could it be that you are inside the valley? What kind of ambush have you set up? Bai Shi asked deliberately. The elder of the First Heaven sect said. His face was gloomy. In fact, his heart was overflowing with killing intent. He wanted to attack immediately, but he was afraid of hurting Feng Huanzi's safety. Besides, he was also afraid that Feng Huanzi would run away. Therefore, he forcibly restrained himself. He sneered. You guys, you look down on the First Heaven sect too much, don't you? The Channy Palace is the #1 sect in the immortal realm. How can we go back on our words? There is absolutely no problem with today's transaction. Well, please enter the valley. Don't you have even a little courage? Oh. Bai Shi waved his hand and stopped Bai Shi, who pretended to continue talking. In his eyes, he deliberately showed a thoughtful expression. Please, since you have the guts to fight against the First Heaven sect, you don't have the guts to enter the valley now? You guys. The First Heaven sect doesn't want to set up an ambush to deal with you. If you don't believe me, you can release your celestial awareness to explore the valley and see if there is an ambush, another low-level celestial emperor of the First Heaven sect said disdainfully. It should be noted that the people in the valley, including the 2 low-level celestial emperors, were all hidden in the space deployment, which was set up by Grand Master Channy himself. Therefore, even if a low-level celestial emperor released his celestial awareness, he would not be able to see through the space deployment in a short time. However, these low-level celestial emperors of the First Heaven sect never expected that Bai Shi and the other 2 were all middle-level celestial emperors. Well, Bai Shi pretended to release his celestial awareness to scan the inside of the Windy Valley. Seeing Bai Shi's action, the 4 low-level celestial emperors of the First Heaven sect all sneered. Okay, let's enter the valley to trade. Bai Shi finally nodded. Good. You have guts. Please. The 4 low-level celestial emperors of the First Heaven sect stepped aside to make way. Bai Shi and the others held Feng Bangle hostage and entered the Windy Valley. At the same time, on the side of the First Heaven sect, the 4 low-level celestial emperors had already sent messages to the people lying in ambush inside the valley. Listen. We will trade with them normally. When they unlock the restriction inside Feng Bangle's body, we will attack together. We will blast them into pieces. Remember, we 6 low-level celestial emperors and all the perfected immortals will attack together. Don't give them any chance. At the same time, Bai Shi was also sending messages to the 99th, 87th and Feng Bangle. After entering the valley we will trade. Feng Bangle, don't act rashly. The 99th, 87th, when the trade is completed they will definitely attack. We will flash into the blind spot in the valley and make their first wave of attacks miss. Then, we will each deal with 2 low-level celestial emperors. Finish it quickly. Yes. Inside the Windy Valley. Inside the Windy Valley, in addition to the 4 low-level celestial emperors, there were only 2 level 10 perfected immortals and a few level 8 and level 9 perfected immortals. On the other side, White Phoenix City. The other team of the First Heaven Palace, led by 5 low-level celestial emperors, was about to attack White Phoenix City. Boom! Celestial chi soared into the sky. Xiao Han had already led the 98th, 97th, 96th, 95th, 94th and 93rd generations to face the enemy. The 2 sides confronted each other in the void at the edge of White Phoenix City. What? A group of level 5 perfected immortals and a level 2 perfected immortal? The 5 low-level celestial emperors of the First Heaven Palace glanced around and then burst into wild laughter. We can't defend White Phoenix City anymore. I can't believe a few pieces of trash came to stop us. Ha! As for Xiao Han, he looked at the 5 immortal emperors calmly. Alright, all of you kneel down and kill yourselves. As celestial emperors, it would be a disgrace to kill you with our own hands. However, you can also watch the fall of White Phoenix sect with your own eyes. Then you can end your own lives. A low-level celestial emperor said in a cat-and-mouse tone. Master, let's do it. The 6 level 7 creatures from the alternate dimension behind Xiao Han could no longer hold back their surging killing intent. Okay, let's do it. However, don't destroy the bodies of these 5 low-level celestial emperors. I have some use for them. At this time Xiao Han was also burning with passion. His left arm of the demon monarch could be fed with the bodies of immortals and evolved. However, Xiao Han had never used the bodies of immortal emperors to nourish the demon monarch's palm. The quality of the bodies of immortal emperors was much higher than that of ordinary perfected immortals. Ah! The first heaven palace. Suddenly Xiao Han looked up to the sky and roared, "I wonder what kind of blow it will cause to the first heaven palace after the death of 5 low-level celestial emperors? Do it." As soon as he finished speaking, boom, boom, boom. Behind Xiao Han, the energy of the 6 creatures from the alternate dimension kept rising. The temperature in all directions rose madly. A large area was shrouded in a kind of terrifying concept. Something's wrong. Do it. The 5 low-level celestial emperors of the first heaven palace roared in horror. However, the 6 creatures from the alternate dimension were one step ahead of them. They brandished their sabers and killed them. The subtlety and horror of the 100 Lives Saber doctrine was displayed vividly and vividly. The 6 creatures from the alternate dimension had each mastered 100 Lives Saber doctrine, which was extremely powerful. Moreover, when they attacked, they also released the energy of a middle-level celestial emperor. Buff, 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 buff. The saber light cut through the sky like a meteor. In a split second, the heads of the 5 low-level celestial emperors of the first heaven palace flew up and left their bodies. Puff! The dark golden blood of the celestial emperors gushed out from their necks. They died. 5 low-level celestial emperors died at the same time. For a moment, dark clouds gathered between heaven and earth. It was pitch black and a storm suddenly fell. Between heaven and earth, a sorrowful cry resounded. The celestial emperors died and the world turned dark. It was as if doomsday had arrived. Even the heavens seemed to be weeping. Time seemed to have frozen. After dozens of breaths, they're dead. The 5 low-level celestial emperors of the first heaven palace were killed in an instant. That's a rare thing. The celestial emperors died. In the battle between the celestials and the demon clan, 5 celestial emperors were killed in an instant. This has never happened before. Apart from the battle to seal the demon god, this has never happened before. The world has changed. The celestial realm is going to change. In the vast celestial realm, countless celestials burst into tears and trembled in fear. To be continued. Chapter 724. Billions of immortals in the immortal world, including some mysterious immortals who lived in seclusion, were paying close attention to the 2 battles. One of them, the Battle of White Phoenix City, had come to a swift end. The 5 low-level celestial emperors of the Tianyi Palace came aggressively and confidently. They intended to flatten White Phoenix City with a crushing force. That's right, a total of 5 low-level celestial emperors leading a large number of high-level true immortals was enough to flatten at least 70% of the cities and sects in the celestial world. A mere White Phoenix City, and its main force had already gone to Windward Gorge to carry out a trade, was simply too much. Unexpectedly, something that defied the heavens suddenly happened. 5 low-level immortal emperors died in an instant. The heavens and earth wept in sorrow. After the death of the 5 immortal emperors, the remaining high-level true immortals were easily defeated. The 6th level, 7 creatures from the alternate dimension once again slashed out with saber moves that were close to the Tao. They drew a trail in the sky like a meteor. The space shattered and the saber light swept through everything, covering all directions and shattering the void. Just these few saber strikes contained the essence of the 100 lifetime saber Tao. With a flash of saber light, heads fell to the ground. Furthermore, the saber chi seemed like an immortal yet not an immortal, like a fiend yet not a fiend. It seemed like it wanted to extract the souls of all living things within a radius of 5,000 kilometers. The immortal consciousnesses of the spectating immortals were almost destroyed. Fortunately, the saber light came fast and left even faster. He sheathed his saber. "Master, the enemies have all been annihilated." The 6 extra-dimensional beings instantly retracted their auras and suppressed their cultivation levels to that of a level 5 true immortal. It was extremely strange. In the void, a large pile of immortal corpses floated in the air. All of them were decapitated. But the corpse wasn't too badly damaged. "Master, according to your request, the immortal body was not destroyed." "Good, very good." Xiao Han was also very excited. Even though Xiao Han's current battle power was invincible against those below the immortal emperor realm, it was still not enough. It was practically a clean sweep. However, Xiao Han wasn't a match for a low-level immortal emperor. However, these tyrannical level 7 dimensional life forms were also a part of Xiao Han's strength. It could be said that this was Xiao Han's first time experiencing the thrill of killing an immortal emperor. That's right, pleasure. Immortal emperors were existences at the pinnacle of the immortal world's pyramid. Among billions of true immortals, there might not be many immortal emperors. It could be said, every immortal emperor was a creation of heaven and earth, the soul of all living things. Now Xiao Han had destroyed 5 of them in one go. How refreshing. There was a refreshing feeling of being crushed. Inside Xiao Han's heart, the demon god's egg was pulsating slightly. The demon god's soul was emitting a ripple of joy. Look, even the heavens are weeping. Xiao Han reached out with his right hand and grabbed a few raindrops. Above his head, wind and lightning intersected, and a vortex raged. Xiao Han's hair fluttered in the wind, and his robes fluttered. Xiao Han looked like a demon god, standing tall in the void. With a wave of his right hand, he stored all the immortal corpses into his storage ring. Those who are spying on us. All of a sudden, Xiao Han's soul and psyche fluctuated, transmitting sound waves to a place very far away. The Qianni Palace has brought disaster to the immortal realm. They've been oppressing others everywhere, gaining the upper hand, plundering resources, bullying men and women. I, the White Phoenix sect, declare war on the Qianni Palace. Challenging the Qianni Palace's position as the overlord only hope to balance the forces in the celestial world. Now the Qianni Palace has suffered heavy losses, and even several immortal emperors have fallen. For the Qianni Palace, the fall of an immortal emperor is something that will shake its foundation. Now, I'll mention it again. Those who are willing to join the White Phoenix City to fight against the Qianni Palace, please come to the White Phoenix sect as soon as possible. The structure of the immortal realm is about to be broken. I hope everyone can see the situation clearly. Xiao Han used the name of the White Phoenix City to say this. In this way, if the few high-level immortal emperors who lived in seclusion knew about the turmoil in the immortal realm, they would first consider that it was a conflict between the various forces in the immortal realm, and then they might neglect Xiao Han's true identity. In terms of power, Xiao Han didn't dare to fight against the 4 high-level immortal emperors. After saying this, Xiao Han led the creatures from the alternate dimension back to the headquarters of the White Phoenix sect. Everything was quiet again. The storm began to stop. The sky became clear once again. At the same time, the fall of the 5 low-level immortal emperors of the Qianni Palace caused a great uproar that didn't subside at all. Instead, it became more and more intense. Incredible. That's heaven-defying. The Qianni Palace is going to lose. The structure of the immortal realm is going to be broken. In the battle just now, there must have been a middle-level immortal emperor from the White Phoenix City. And it's very likely that there was more than one. From this, it seems that the White Phoenix City has enough power to compete with the Qianni Palace. What do you mean by that? Now the momentum of the White Phoenix City is definitely going to overshadow that of the Qianni Palace. It's a crushing advantage. It seems that there are no everlasting sects in the immortal realm. Humph. I said that unrighteousness leads to self-destruction. In recent years, the Qianni Palace has been too arrogant. They have abused their power everywhere and done many vicious things. Therefore their luck has come to an end. Now, there were already many sects in the immortal realm who were criticizing the Qianni Palace for their crimes. Then, this is a critical period. We must stand on the right side. The Qianni Palace has lost power. On the contrary, the rise of the White Phoenix sect is unstoppable. If we go to the White Phoenix sect now, we will definitely be valued. It will be regarded as a contribution for the White Phoenix sect to dominate the immortal realm in the future. Good. The Clear Stream sect has made a decision. The whole sect will go to the White Phoenix sect. The Black Sword sect will also go to the White Phoenix sect immediately. Humph. Back then, the Qianni Palace suppressed our Valley of Thousand Beauties so badly. Now, revenge. Our Valley of Thousand Beauties will go to the White Phoenix sect and take revenge on the Qianni Palace. Countless sects, rogue cultivators, and immortals had already decided to go to the White Phoenix sect. At the moment, the Qianni Palace seemed to be scattering like monkeys when the tree fell. Of course, most sects and rogue cultivators were still waiting and watching. Don't be impatient. There is still a battle that will affect the future of the White Phoenix sect and the Qianni Palace. The battle in the Windy Canyon. Yes. Now let's all turn our attention to it. We can't completely say that the Qianni Palace has been defeated. There is still a very critical battle. The Qianni Palace can win the battle in the Windy Canyon. If they can win, then there will be a turning point in the war. On the contrary, if the Qianni Palace still fails in the battle in the Windy Canyon, their 10,000 years of foundation and luck may come to an end. Everyone's attention was focused on the windy canyon. Countless celestial senses were released to envelop it. After Xiao Han returned to the headquarters of the White Phoenix sect, he immediately summoned Bai Fengzi, Bai Yunzi and the others. The death of the immortal emperor had already caused a terrible shock to all the immortals in White Phoenix City. Killing a level 10 true immortal was not a big deal, but killing an immortal emperor was completely out of control. This was already a big event that would stir up the situation in the celestial world. They were stunned. Bai Fengzi and the others were all stunned. In the meeting hall, Xiao Han calmly held a cup of steaming hot tea, took a sip and said with a faint smile, "Bai Fengzi, now the foundation of the Channy Palace is in chaos. I believe that a large number of sects and rogue cultivators will soon come to the White Phoenix sect. Grand Ancestor Channy, can you still keep your composure?" After a pause, Xiao Han looked into the distance, as if he was looking at the direction of the headquarters of the Channy Palace, and murmured, "Bai Shi, you should have defeated your opponents, right? Channy Palace, this time I will teach you a lesson." The Windy Canyon. Bai Shi, the 99th and the 87th kidnapped the wind bracelets and entered the Windy Canyon. "Okay, let's start the transaction," the 4 low-level immortal emperors of the Channy Palace said impatiently. They didn't know why, but suddenly, a strange feeling welled up in their hearts. It seemed to be a kind of sudden sadness. It also seemed to be a kind of ominous premonition. And it also seemed to be a kind of fox mourning for the rabbit. Of course, these elders of the Channy Palace still did not know the result of the battle of the White Phoenix sect. It was just that when their cultivation levels reached a certain level, they developed a kind of sensitivity like cicadas can sense the autumn wind before it blows. "Okay, let's make the transaction." Bai Shi smiled. With a wave of his hand, a scroll and a storage ring floated in front of Bai Shi. This scroll is the latest map of the celestial world, and there are 5 billion celestial coins in the storage ring. An elder of the Channy Palace sneered. "Don't worry, this is a drop in the bucket for the Channy Palace. We won't cheat you." "That's good." Bai Shi directly put away the map of the celestial world and the storage ring. "Now it's time to undo the restriction in Feng Huanzi's body, right?" The eyes of the 4 elders of the Channy Palace were full of killing intent. "We are also trustworthy people, ha." Bai Shi laughed and nodded. Then he directly waved his right hand. Puff! A jet of broadsword light directly went into Feng Huanzi's body. Immediately, a crisp sound burst out from inside Feng Huanzi's body, as if an eggshell had broken. Boom! Wisps of celestial qi steamed out of Feng Huanzi's pores. All of a sudden, Feng Huanzi's cultivation level was restored. Right at this moment, 2 things happened almost at the same time. The first thing was that Bai Shi, the 99th time, and the 87th time directly moved their bodies. At a speed that was almost like teleportation, they rushed to a corner of the canyon. Almost at the moment when Bai Shi undid the restriction on Feng Huanzi, their bodies had already moved. The second thing, which was also after Feng Huanzi was confirmed to be safe, the 4 elders of the Channy Palace immediately gave an order. "Do it. Blast him into pieces." However, the speed and thoughts of Bai Shi and his companions were faster than the attacks of the people of the Channy Palace. They saw, boom, 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 boom. The violent and powerful attacks instantly bombarded the area where Bai Shi and his companions were. Puff! The attacks of as many as 6 low-level celestial emperors and a large number of high-level genuine immortals instantly tore the shadows of Bai Shi and his companions apart. What? The people of the Channy Palace were shocked. They had expected that Bai Shi and his companions would quickly escape. However, the attacks launched by the 6 low-level celestial emperors and a large number of high-level genuine immortals at the same time, whether they were celestial magic skills, celestial artifacts, or magic treasures, almost covered the entire canyon. This formed a range attack. Therefore, no matter how Bai Shi and his companions dodged, they would be attacked or at least injured. However, this wave of the most powerful range attack was actually avoided by Bai Shi and his companions. This was absolutely impossible. No, there was only one possibility. It was a blind spot in the canyon. In this canyon, there was only one place that could avoid the attacks launched from any other corner of the canyon, and it could also instantly shield them from the first scanning. It was a blind spot that could not be easily discovered by the naked eye. Bai Shi and his companions had already planned in advance. When the people of the Channy Palace launched the first wave of attacks, they would directly rush into the blind spot. In this way they could avoid the first wave of attacks unscathed. Then, when the people of the Channy Palace were stunned for a moment, kill! Bai Shi directly slashed out with the most powerful broadsword method. The 100th move of Bai Shi's broadsword technique. The most powerful attack. The energy of a middle-level celestial emperor was instantly enhanced. Bang! The broadsword light swept out. 2 low-level celestial emperors hiding in a space formation were instantly cut in half. The space formation was destroyed. Roar? No. The 4 low-level celestial emperors outside burst into heart-wrenching screams. However, at the same time as Bai Shi launched the attack, Bai Shi also used all their strength, condensed their strength and slashed out a peerless broadsword light. Disaster descended. In a situation where their divine souls were completely shocked, the 4 low-level celestial emperors seemed so fragile in the face of the full attack of 2 middle-level celestial emperors. Bang, 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 bang. The broadsword light strangled the 4 low-level celestial emperors into pieces. They died. The 6 low-level celestial emperors of the Tianyi Palace were all killed. It should be noted that if it was a head-on battle and the low-level celestial emperors had magic treasures, but Bai Shi and his companions did not, then the 2 low-level celestial emperors could resist a creature from an alien space. But in this battle, Bai Shi and his companions had completely planned it out before taking action. They had seized a blind spot in advance, and when the other side's attack had just missed, they suddenly attacked and killed these low-level celestial emperors one by one. Perfect. In 2 battles, the Tianyi Palace had lost 11 low-level celestial emperors. And Xiao Han's side was unscathed. Extremely perfect. To be continued? Chapter 725. After the Battle of White Phoenix City ended, the other battle that affected the situation of the immortal world, the Battle of Windward Gorge, also came to an end. On the side of the Tianyi Palace, after the death of the 6 low-level immortal emperors, the remaining high-level genuine immortals had lost their courage. These high-level genuine immortals had never thought that the supreme elders of their sects would die one day. Now they had even lost the strength to escape. They just stood there helplessly, waiting to be slaughtered. Puff, 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 the broadsword light flashed like a fishing net, rippling with power as vast as the starry sky. Except for Feng Bangle, all the genuine immortals in Windward Gorge, including the genuine immortals who were lying in ambush, had died. No one was spared. After the battle, Bai Shi put all the pieces of the immortals' corpses floating in the gorge into his storage ring. Then he waved his hand and said, "These immortals' corpses are very helpful for Master's cultivation. Don't waste them. They are the essence of the immortal energy. Go back now. This Windward Gorge is adjacent to the headquarters of the Tianyi Palace. Don't provoke Patriarch Tianyi and the others." After that, whoosh, 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 Bai Shi, the 99th, the 87th, and Feng Bangle all used their body movements and dashed toward White Phoenix City. At this moment, countless sects, rogue cultivators, and immortals who had been paying attention to this battle were once again shocked and dizzy. Gasps and strange gurgling noises could be heard in the space. Then, it's over. The Tianyi Palace's ruling position in the immortal world. It's completely over. The Battle of Windward Gorge. The Tianyi Palace was defeated again. It was a complete failure. 6 low-level immortal emperors and dozens of genuine immortals set up all kinds of ambushes in advance. They had the right time, the right place, and the right people, but they were still defeated miserably. In these 2 battles, the Tianyi Palace lost 11 low-level immortal emperors, which shook the foundation of the Tianyi Palace. There's no way to make up for this loss. On the other hand, the White Phoenix sect has displayed their dominance in these 2 crucial battles. They have countless experts. In the Battle of White Phoenix City and the Battle of Windward Canyon, the White Phoenix sect has hidden mid-stage immortal emperors. Now, even if old ancestor Tianyi personally takes action, he might not be able to salvage the situation. Hurry up and go to White Phoenix City. In these 2 battles, the Tianyi Palace was in a mess, while in White Phoenix City, it was like the sun at high noon. White Phoenix sect headquarters. In the conference hall, Bai Shi and the others had also returned to Xiao Han's side. Right now. Behind Xiao Han, there were 9 level 7 alternate dimension beings with battle prowess comparable to mid-level immortal emperors, as well as a level 10 true immortal like Feng Huanzi. Xiao Han, on the other hand, had a calm expression on his face. He had the demeanor of a leader, which was admirable. Bai Shi, you guys have won a great victory this time. Not bad at all. Xiao Han smiled and nodded. Master, it's just a few low-level immortal emperors. It's no big deal, Bai Shi said humbly. You brought back a large number of immortal corpses, including the corpses of 6 immortal emperors. Xiao Han's eyes moved. Now, I have 11 low-level immortal emperors' corpses in my left arm. If I refine all of them into my left arm, my demonic power will expand to an unimaginable level. But now is not the time to refine the immortal corpses and condense demonic power. After a pause, Xiao Han looked at the unfurled scroll in his hand. The latest map of the immortal realm. This map is indeed perfect. It shows the current geographical distribution of the immortal realm and the territories of various sections. Those high-level immortal emperors might be living here? Xiao Han's eyes narrowed. He saw the markings on the map. The person who drew the map analyzed that the location where the high-stage immortal emperors were staying might be at the border between the immortal and demon realms. That place was a gray zone and was extremely mysterious. The most profound energy in the universe flowed through it. Those who were not high-level immortal emperors could not enter this gray area at all. Let's not worry about this for now. If I go against the Chinese sect, those high-level immortal emperors might not intervene. After a pause, Xiao Han turned his eyes again and scanned around. Red Crane Valley. I finally found this place. In the Red Crane Valley, there were special immortal herbs that could restore the vitality of Wu Hao and the others. This was also an extremely important matter for Xiao Han. This Red Crane Valley is also very far from White Phoenix City. Xiao Han estimated. If we fly there, it will take about 2 months to get there. Master, let's set off for the Red Crane Valley now, Bai Shi said with a faint smile. As long as we collect those special immortal herbs, I will be able to refine the divine medicine in a few days. There's no hurry? Xiao Han thought for a moment. It's strange. In these 2 battles, the Chinese sect has lost a total of 11 low-level immortal emperors. It can be said that more than half of their foundation has been dug out by us. However, Patriarch Channy and many of his middle-level immortal emperors have been holding back and biding their time. Logically speaking, they should be furious and gather many middle-level immortal emperors to counterattack and save the situation as soon as possible. Master, a few days have passed, and the Chinese sect is like a pool of stagnant water. They have no plans against us at all. Well, in the past few days, countless sects in the immortal realm have sent representatives to White Phoenix City to announce their surrender, Bai Shi said. Ha! Xiao Han knocked on the table as if he had understood something. It seems that Patriarch Channy and the others are in closed-door cultivation, or they are not in the headquarters of the Channy sect. Good. Let's take this opportunity to expand our advantage and disintegrate the Channy sect. Master, what's your plan? First, we go directly to the headquarters of the Channy sect and harass them outside the headquarters, disintegrating their momentum so that the disciples of the Channy sect will fall apart and lose their morale. Second, inside White Phoenix City. Try to accept as many sects in the immortal realm as possible. Wandering immortals, Xiao Han made up his mind. After these 2 plans are fully implemented, we will go to the Red Crane Valley and collect spiritual herbs. Xiao Han said. Yes, Master. After a pause, Xiao Han continued. Bai Shi, 99 generations, 98 generations, 97 generations, 96 generations. You can go to the headquarters of the Channy sect now. Remember, your task is not to directly attack the Channy sect, but to block the Channy sect. You will harass the Channy sect every day with the lingering saber light and kill some disciples of the Channy sect. If any disciples of the Channy sect want to escape, you can let them go. If they resist, you will kill them directly. There is a man named Jia Lanzi in the Channy sect who is my friend. If you find Jia Lanzi, don't kill him by mistake. Except for Jia Lanzi. You can kill all the other disciples and elders of the Channy sect. If Grand Ancestor Channy and other middle-level immortal emperors show up, you will immediately return to White Phoenix City. Don't fight. I want Patriarch Channy to see with his own eyes the powerful sect that he created crumble bit by bit and fall apart. It's too easy for him to kill him so easily. Feng Huanzi, you will be responsible for helping the people of the White Phoenix sect accept the forces of the immortal realm who come to seek refuge. You have learned the ways of the world in the Channy sect. I will send the 95th and 87th generations to help you. Xiao Han looked at Feng Huanzi. Yes, Master. Feng Huanzi directly accepted the order. In the headquarters of the Channy sect. At the moment, the entire Channy sect was immersed in a gray, gloomy, and lifeless atmosphere. Moreover, the mountains of the Channy sect were covered with strips of white cloth, and all kinds of wailing as if their parents had died could be heard one after another. The Channy sect, which used to be glorious and prosperous, now seemed to be in a state of desolation. However, the palace in the sky was still shrouded in darkness. Grand Ancestor Channy and many middle-level celestial emperors were still in closed-door cultivation. Closed-door cultivation. At this time the Tianyi sect was in a complete mess, on the verge of collapse. The fallen low-level celestial emperors were definitely the cornerstone of the Tianyi sect. They were irreplaceable and irreplaceable. It could be said that the foundation of the Tianyi sect had been completely shaken. The status of the overlord of the immortal realm was gone. Now, in the entire headquarters of the Tianyi sect, except for Grand Ancestor Tianyi and the others who were in closed-door cultivation, there were no more celestial emperors. Moreover, the level 10 and level 9 true immortals had also suffered heavy losses, and only a few of them remained. It was not enough to describe the miserable situation of the Tianyi sect at the moment. Now, the remaining low-level celestial emperors of the Tianyi sect were basically traveling around the immortal realm and were not in the sect. In the conference hall, several level 10 true immortals of the Tianyi sect were beating their chests and stamping their feet, howling, "What should we do? Now that the Grand Ancestor is in closed-door cultivation, our forces are completely unable to resist the White Phoenix sect. The White Phoenix sect has a middle-level celestial emperor, and it is as easy as cracking an egg to crush us. Go and ask the Grand Ancestor to come out of closed-door cultivation." The Grand Ancestor is in closed-door cultivation, and we can't ask him to come out at all. Moreover, before the Grand Ancestor went into closed-door cultivation, he predicted that we would take down the White Phoenix sect, but now, we have suffered a crushing defeat. All the elites of the sect have been killed. When the Grand Ancestor comes out of closed-door cultivation, he will definitely roar like thunder and fly into a rage. What should we do now? At least before the Grand Ancestor comes out of closed-door cultivation, we must resist the invasion of the White Phoenix sect. Send a message right away. Send a message to the remaining celestial emperors of the Tianyi sect who are traveling outside, and contact those sects that have surrendered to the Tianyi sect, and ask them to come to our rescue immediately. The next day, the sun was shining brightly in the area of the Tianyi sect's headquarters. Boom! A huge jade ship was already anchored in front of the mountain of the Tianyi sect. On the jade ship, there were several towering figures who looked like heavenly mountains and ancient divine mountains. By sure, 99 generations, 98 generations, 97 generations, 96 generations. This jade ship was a celestial artifact used by the people of the Tianyi sect. It had been killed by Xiao Han and taken away, and then handed over to Bai Shi for refining. As a result, Bai Shi and the others quickly arrived at the headquarters of the Tianyi sect. The huge momentum directly enveloped the mountain of the Tianyi sect. The hundreds of thousands of disciples of the Tianyi sect were completely out of breath. Bai Shi moved his body, stepped forward, and said sternly, "Everyone in the Tianyi sect, listen up, I am here at the order of my master. Block the gate. From today on, every day I will hack at the top of the mountain of the Tianyi sect." A hideous smile appeared on Bai Shi's face. "However, my master said that God has the virtue of cherishing life. If you guys want to leave the Tianyi sect, you can escape from the back of the mountain. I won't chase you and I will spare your lives." After that, puff, Bai Shi casually hacked at them. Boom! One of the peaks of the mountains of the Tianyi sect was directly cut in half, and the palaces and buildings on the peak collapsed one after another. The residual power of the broadsword chi had at least crushed the bodies of hundreds of perfected immortals of the Tianyi sect. To be continued? Chapter 726. According to Xiao Han's order, Bai Shi and the other 4 level 7 creatures from the alien space blocked the gate of the Tianyi palace. They activated the domineering broadsword intent and shook the mountains of the Tianyi palace. Of course, Bai Shi didn't want to destroy the Tianyi palace completely. He just wanted to destroy it bit by bit. Therefore, the power of the broadsword chi he released was only slightly stronger than that of a level 10 genuine immortal. Therefore, when he slashed out, he only smashed a small mountain in the mountains of the Tianyi palace and killed hundreds of immortals. Ah, cool. Bai Shi put away his broadsword and laughed wildly. That's it for today, 99 sure. Tomorrow it's your turn. However, don't use too much force. Otherwise, if you kill all these ants at once, the fun will be lost. Ah. Alright, it's my turn to have some fun tomorrow, Generation 99 grinned. So, on the 3rd day it should be my turn, right? Ah. 98 sure was also eager to make a move. Don't worry. Everyone will slash once a day and everyone will get a share. Ha ha ha. Bai Shi burst out laughing. Nowadays, the Tianyi palace, the big fish in the immortal world, had always been oppressing others, and others could only be angry but not dare to speak out. But now they were directly humiliated by other forces, and each of them would slash once and take turns to play with them. This was simply a great shame. For a moment, countless immortals of the Channy Palace all felt great shame, anger, and rage. However, there was also a deep sense of helplessness. Helplessness, even fear, despair. It was really a complex feeling that was difficult to express. Brother Bai Shi, the master, imprinted the soul fluctuation of Jiao Lanzi, his good friend in the Channy Palace, into our sea of consciousness. I just checked it. Jiao Lanzi is indeed in the headquarters of the Channy Palace. Well, this Jiao Lanzi has the aura of a level 2 genuine immortal. Although he should be quite talented, I don't know why the master has a relationship with this kind of ant. But it seems that Jiao Lanzi is imprisoned. After scanning the mountains of the Channy Palace with his celestial sense, he also found some clues. Big Brother Bai Shi, should we rescue Jiao Lanzi? A pondering look flashed across Bai Shi's eyes before he shook his head. Don't save Jiao Lanzi for now. Firstly, Master did not order us to act on our own. Jiao Lanzi is currently imprisoned and his life is not in danger. We can leave him alone for the time being. In the future, after we report to Master, we can easily bring Jiao Lanzi out if Master wants to save him. Secondly, at present, we are using the name of the White Phoenix sect to fight against the First Heaven sect. The First Heaven sect does not know Master's true identity at all. It is also impossible for the First Heaven sect to guess that Master is the mortal they have been scheming to deal with, Xiaohan. If we rescue Jiao Lanzi, then the people of the Channy Palace can use this clue to figure out Master's identity. Brother Bai Shi is right. We'll just ensure Jiao Lanzi's safety and not intervene to save him for now. The other creatures from the alternate dimensions nodded. Suddenly, Bai Shi shifted his gaze to the tallest mountain in the First Heaven sect's mountain range. The peak of the mountain was completely shrouded in darkness. However, with Bai Shi's powerful immortal sense, he could vaguely see the outline of some palaces in the almost eternal darkness. Moreover, there were more than 10 balls of supreme celestial chi fluctuating in the palace. However, these celestial chi fluctuations were currently in a deep dormant state as though they were hibernating. Bai Shi finally understood. Just as I expected. It's just as Master expected. The leader of the First Heaven sect, Ancestor Tianyi, is in closed-door cultivation. He seems to be in closed-door cultivation. There are more than 10 medium-grade celestial emperors in closed-door cultivation as well. Oh? Brother Bai Shi, why don't we attack them while they're in closed-door cultivation? Upon hearing this, Bai Shi licked his lips and said in a cold voice filled with killing intent. There's no need for that. Bai Shi shook his head mockingly. There's only a dozen medium-grade celestial emperors. They won't be able to play any tricks no matter what. Let them go into closed-door cultivation. When they come out they will be shocked to death. Moreover, Master wants to kill them with his own hands. Don't act rashly now. Moreover, our saber chi should avoid the palace in the sky as much as possible. Don't alarm them. Yes, Brother Bai Shi. At this moment, boom. The mountains of the First Heaven sect shook. Several beams of celestial chi rose into the sky. With anger, several immortals rushed out. Among them, there were 2 level 10 true immortals and 3 level 9 true immortals. All of them had distorted faces as they roared. You've gone too far. You White Phoenix sect fellows simply came to our door to humiliate us. We can't allow you to trample on the foundation and dignity of the First Heaven sect. Fight to the death. And defend the reputation of the First Heaven sect. As soon as he finished speaking, a majestic cry broke out in the mountains of the First Heaven sect. We swear to defend the dignity of the First Heaven sect. We swear to defend the dignity of the First Heaven sect. In an instant, the entire First Heaven sect was completely immersed in a tragic atmosphere. There was even a sense of a brave man who was willing to cut his wrist and face death calmly. Idiots. Without thinking, Bai Shi directly wielded his broadsword. The 2 level 10 true immortals and the 3 level 9 true immortals didn't even have a chance to dodge. They were directly obliterated by the earth-shattering broadsword chi. Their souls were scattered and they couldn't be more dead. In an instant, the mountains of the First Heaven sect, which had been boiling, suddenly cooled down. The heroic and impassioned slogans that vowed to defend the dignity of the First Heaven sect were all stifled. The atmosphere was terrifyingly quiet. Humph? Are your bones hard? Bai Shi burst out with a sharp and sarcastic voice. Ah! It's true that your bones are hard, but your bones are hard and powerless. That's a joke. I'll stop the First Heaven sect and humiliate you. So what? You're not convinced? Come out, all of you. I'll kill you one by one. Come out one by one. I'll kill one. If 10 come out, I'll kill 10. Ah! If you're not afraid of death, come and have a try. As soon as he finished speaking, the mountains of the First Heaven sect fell into a dead silence. No disciple of the First Heaven sect dared to take the initiative to stand out. It should be noted that they would be courting death if they went out. The gap between the combat strength of the two sides was too big. Now there were no low-level immortal emperors in the First Heaven sect. Even the level 10 genuine immortals had been killed or wounded. There were still many middle-level genuine immortals left. Such genuine immortals were like ants in front of immortal emperors. They could not compete with numbers at all. For example, among hundreds of thousands of genuine immortals, low-level genuine immortals swarmed up. In the face of 5 middle-level immortal emperors, there would be a large number of casualties. His previous generosity and willingness to face death with equanimity vanished into thin air, replaced by ice-cold despair and weak helplessness. However, Baishur and the others really did not make a move. They quietly sat cross-legged on the jade-colored fairy artifact ship, chatting and laughing casually. The next day, as soon as the sun rose, Baishur couldn't hold back anymore. He roared and slashed out with his broadsword. It directly destroyed a relatively tall mountain of the First Heaven sect. The aftermath of the broadsword chi killed thousands of immortals. Ha ha ha. Baishur laughed wildly, like an ancient demon king, evil and demonic. The rising sun was supposed to bring people infinite hope and reverie, but what Baishur and the others brought to the First Heaven sect was nightmares, disasters, death, despair, and meat at the mercy of others. Now all the disciples of the First Heaven sect were on the verge of breaking down. It seemed that they would go crazy if they were stimulated a little more. At noon, hundreds of immortals of the First Heaven sect finally could not control their emotions. They directly rushed out and fled in all directions, trying to break out of the encirclement. Puff! Baishur slashed out with his broadsword and directly cut this group of immortals of the First Heaven sect into ashes. Listen carefully. I've said before that you want to leave the First Heaven sect. Very well, we will not stop you. However, remember you have to go out of the back mountain. Otherwise we will kill every one of you who comes out. Baishur said with a grim smile. On this day, no disciples of the First Heaven sect escaped from the back mountain. They were still guarding the last trace of dignity. The third day, the 98th king made his move. Just like the previous 2 days, he destroyed a mountain and killed more than 1,000 disciples of the Chani Palace as effortlessly as blowing off dust. Could be said that no one could stop him. The fourth day, Baishur attacked. He also took the lives of thousands of disciples of the First Heaven sect. The fifth day, Baishur attacked. On the sixth day, it was Baishur's turn to attack. And so on. The huge First Heaven sect had now become a place where Baishur and the others kept livestock. They slaughtered some of them every day. As for Grand Ancestor Chani and the other middle-level genuine immortals, they were still in closed-door cultivation. Finally, on the seventh day, the mountains of the First Heaven sect were shrouded in deep despair. All the immortals of the First Heaven sect had collapsed. Then, let's go. Run for our lives. If this goes on, even if we are not killed by these guys, our minds will be broken and we will die. Forget it, the First Heaven sect will vanish like smoke in thin air. Grand Ancestor, it's not that we are disloyal, but we are powerless to resist the current situation. We don't want to die here. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Starting from the seventh day, groups of disciples of the First Heaven sect began to flee from the back mountain. As Baishur said, as long as they escaped from the back mountain, they would not chase after them. After hundreds of people successfully escaped, the escape spread like a plague in the whole mountains of the First Heaven sect. In just 2 hours, tens of thousands of immortals rushed out of the back mountain like a tide. The eighth day, before the sun rose, tens of thousands of immortals rushed out of the back mountain in a panic. As the sun rose, Baishur killed thousands of immortals as usual, which accelerated the escape of the surviving immortals. At dusk on the eighth day, the mountains of the First Heaven sect were deserted. Initially, the sect was flourishing and had hundreds of thousands of disciples. But now there were only a few thousand of them left. On the ninth day, another 1,000 people were killed. At dusk on the ninth day, the mountains of the First Heaven sect were empty. No, Jiao Lanzi was still imprisoned. I'm afraid. He didn't expect the current situation at all. Naturally, Grand Ancestor Chani and other middle-level immortal emperors were still dormant and cultivating in seclusion, so it was impossible for them to notice the current situation. On the 10th day, Big Brother Baishur, the First Heaven Society has already collapsed and vanished into thin air. 99 sure smiled in satisfaction. Hundreds of thousands of immortals of the First Heaven sect are dead. From now on, this glorious sect that once stood tall in the immortal world can be considered to have disbanded. Okay, let's return to White Phoenix City as soon as possible. Master still needs to go to the Red Crane Valley to look for special magic herbs. We will serve him. Bai Shi waved his hand. Boom. In the mountains, treasure houses, and various elixir rooms of the First Heaven sect. Countless rare treasures and magic artifacts. All the secret manuals were collected by Bai Shi from afar. In an instant, the profound heritage of the First Heaven sect was completely plundered. Ha 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 ha. Bai Shi laughed heartily and made another move in his mind. The Jade Fairy artifact turned around and turned back in the direction of White Phoenix City. After Bai Shi and the others left, the mountains of the First Heaven sect were in a mess, and it was as quiet as a grave. White Phoenix City. Now, countless sects and rogue cultivators from the immortal world had rushed to White Phoenix City to express their support for the White Phoenix sect to replace the First Heaven sect and become the new overlord of the immortal world. Even some sects with low-level immortal emperors came to White Phoenix City to express their support for the White Phoenix sect. In a short period of time, the power of the White Phoenix sect had greatly expanded. In the meeting hall of the headquarters of the White Phoenix sect, Feng Huanzi, who was in charge of receiving people from the immortal world, was reporting to Xiao Han. Xiao Han kept nodding. Suddenly Xiao Han raised his eyebrows slightly. Bai Shi and the others are back. The next moment, boom, boom, boom. Bai Shi and the others had already appeared in the meeting hall, and they all knelt on one knee. Master, the First Heaven sect has collapsed. Hundreds of thousands of immortals have fallen apart. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Then Bai Shi reported the specific situation of the First Heaven sect to Xiao Han in detail. Good. Xiao Han patted the back of the chair. The First Heaven sect is completely finished. Moreover, Grand Master Channy and the others are indeed in closed-door training. After a pause, Xiao Han glanced at Feng Huanzi and then said, "The matters in White Phoenix City are almost settled. Well, let's announce that the disciples of the First Heaven sect have all escaped and are now scattered across the immortal world. Let the sects and rogue cultivators of the immortal world hunt down these disciples of the First Heaven sect." What? Master, will the sects and rogue cultivators listen to our order to hunt down the disciples of the First Heaven sect? Feng Huanzi was a little confused. Bai Shi and the others also looked at Xiao Han with puzzled eyes. Although the sects and rogue cultivators of the immortal world were obviously friendly to the White Phoenix sect, the White Phoenix sect was not strong enough to order them to hunt down the disciples of the First Heaven sect. However, Xiao Han smiled confidently. Don't worry. Once the news is out, there will be a large number of sects hunting down the disciples of the First Heaven sect. First, in the past, the First Heaven sect bullied others and suppressed them everywhere in the immortal world. Countless immortals have been bullied by them. Now they have a chance to beat them when they are down. These immortals who used to be yes-men will definitely retaliate. Second, the First Heaven sect is the most prosperous sect in the immortal world. Its disciples are all very rich, far better than the disciples of other sects in the immortal world. Now, hunting down these disciples of the First Heaven sect is tantamount to robbing them of their wealth. People die for wealth, birds die for food, and so do immortals. After hearing Xiao Han's analysis, everyone's eyes lit up. Yes, Master. I'll go and announce the news right away. At that time, the disciples of the First Heaven sect will be hunted everywhere and will be completely wiped out. After saying that, Feng Huanzi turned around and left. Now it's time for us to go to the Red Crane Valley. Xiao Han stood up. Bai Shi, 87 Shi, you two drive the jade boat and come with me. Yes, Master. Xiao Han released a total of 9 level 7 creatures from the alternate space. Now he would lead Bai Shi and 87 Shi to the Red Crane Valley, leaving 7 creatures from the alternate space to guard White Phoenix City. In order to be safe, Xiao Han released another 10 creatures from the alternate space and asked them to suppress their cultivation levels and quietly hide in White Phoenix City to protect the city. There were a total of 17 level 7 creatures from the alternate space. Xiao Han believed that even if Patriarch Channy came out of his closed-door cultivation, he would not be able to capture White Phoenix City. To be continued. Chapter 727. Since Xiao Han moved into White Phoenix City, he had several direct confrontations with the behemoth, the Channy sect. In several consecutive battles, he defeated the Channy sect. No, to be precise, it was not only a complete victory but an overwhelming victory. An overwhelming victory without any suspense. An overwhelming victory, like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. On Xiao Han's side, he did not lose a single soldier or general. As for the Tianyi sect, almost all the low-level immortal emperors had died, and only a few level 10 and level 9 perfected immortals were left. Moreover, the entire headquarters of the Tianyi sect had now been completely routed. Hundreds of thousands of disciples had all scattered and fled for their lives. After obtaining such a result, Xiao Han was also very satisfied. Immediately after leaving enough forces to protect the foundation of White Phoenix City, he left with Bai Shi and 87 Shi to go to the Red Crane Valley to collect special magic herbs. Swoosh! A jasper sailboat like a flying bird flew across the blue sky like a gem, and swept into the distance like a gust of wind and lightning. Soon it was far away from the plate of White Phoenix City. On the sailboat, Xiao Han stood in the wind. Bai Shi and 87 Shi, who had suppressed their cultivation levels, stood behind Xiao Han. The journey to the Red Crane Valley is also very long. If we only rely on teleportation, I'm afraid it will take several months. Xiao Han unfolded the latest map of the immortal realm, scanned it with his mind and accurately located the position. However, now that we have this jade flying magic treasure seized from the idiots of the Tianyi sect, we can save a lot of time. Bai Shi and 87 Shi both nodded and smiled. At this time Bai Shi said, "By the way, Master, your friend, Jialanzi was indeed found by us. Now he is imprisoned in the Tianyi sect, but we did not rescue him without permission." Oh. Xiao Han was slightly stunned and then nodded. "Now that my identity has not been exposed, I don't think the Tianyi Grand Ancestor will want to kill Brother Jialanzi. Wait until I go to the Red Crane Valley to find the magic herbs. Then, after dealing with the sect master, it will not be too late to rescue Brother Jialanzi." "Ahaha," Bai Shi laughed heartily. "Master, at this moment, Ancestor Tianyi and the other middle-level celestial emperors are still in closed-door cultivation. They don't care about what's going on outside. I'm afraid they also think that the Tianyi Palace can protect them. Now the Tianyi Palace has collapsed. Ah, I really want to see. What kind of expressions did Patriarch Tianyi and the others have when they came out of seclusion? Thinking about it, I find it very funny. I also want to see their expressions." Xiao Han touched his nose. The three of them laughed and chatted happily. Then the 87th king reported, "Master, we've also released the news that we've been hunting down the wandering disciples of the Tianyi Palace, so that the whole immortal realm knows about it." Master is really far-sighted. As expected, now the whole immortal world is hunting down the stray dogs of the Tianyi Palace. Some of them want to take revenge, while others want to take advantage of the situation. Well, good, very good. Everything is going according to our plan. Now, let's put aside the fight with the Tianyi Palace for the time being and focus all our attention on collecting spiritual herbs in the Red Crane Canyon. Yes, Master. At the headquarters of the Tianyi Palace. At this moment, the headquarters of the Tianyi Palace looked extremely strange. It was as silent as a grave. The originally lush mountaintop was now desolate and bleak. Originally, the Tianyi Palace had collected countless treasures and fairy weapons. Therefore, usually, the mountains of the Tianyi Palace looked like they were full of jewels and treasures. They were bathed in the fairy wind and glow, like treasure mountains. Moreover, the spiritual qi was very abundant. But now, because all the wealth had been swept away by Bai Shi, the mountains of the Tianyi Palace had become extremely gloomy. As a result, the mountains of the Tianyi Palace became extremely gloomy. The trees withered and a lot of filthy weeds even sprouted out. It was a miserable and dilapidated scene. The highest mountain of the Tianyi Palace. The place where the heavenly palace was located. At this moment, the deep black fog that shrouded the highest mountain of the Tianyi Palace was dissipating. The dazzling golden palace in the sky gradually revealed itself. Puff, puff, puff. Beams of light that looked like sunlight shot up into the sky. In these beams of divine light, immortal characters, runes, patterns of mountains, rivers, flowers, and birds could be seen. There were even shadows of gods sitting cross-legged. It was a magnificent scene. Boundless vitality was revealed. The scorching fairy qi spread like flowers and swallowed up the darkness that shrouded the heavenly palace. A kind of withered tree coming back to life slowly unfolded. Inside the heavenly palace, Patriarch Tianyi and the other medium immortal emperors were all glowing and in high spirits at this moment, as if they were full of spirit. Ha ha ha! Ancestor Tianyi laughed wildly. He was in high spirits. Great! This is great! Ah! After these days of closed-door cultivation, I've finally recovered all the celestial force that I've lost. Ah! Before we were all very dispirited and weak. But now we've finally recovered to our peak state. Patriarch Tianyi's eyes were bursting with confidence. His eyes were like warm jade, domineering and disdainful. Puff, puff, puff. Celestial Ancestor Tianyi's fingernails flicked gently, and mysterious immortal characters appeared. They floated around his body like lotus flowers, giving him a dignified appearance. Ah! It's not a waste of time to cultivate in seclusion. Now we've all recovered our celestial force. Ah! The other mid-tier immortal emperors also felt relieved. Their immortal force had also recovered to its peak state, just like ancestor Tianyi's. Good. Now let's come out of seclusion. The foreign dignitary of White Phoenix sect has provoked us again and again. Now that we've come out of seclusion, we can wipe out the White Phoenix sect and raze White Phoenix City to the ground. Patriarch Tianyi's eyes emitted raging flames and a domineering aura that could turn mountains and rivers into ashes when a monarch was enraged. Haha, Brother Tianyi, the White Phoenix sect should have been eliminated a long time ago, right? The other medium immortal emperors burst out laughing. That's right. Before we went into seclusion, your sect had more than 10 low-level immortal emperors. Even if the tiny White Phoenix sect is a little strange, they shouldn't have been able to stop them, right? Now that we've come out of seclusion, I'm afraid the foreign dignitaries of White Phoenix sect have already been captured and imprisoned, waiting for your brother Tianyi to come out and deal with them personally. Ah, that's right. More than 10 low-level immortal emperors led a large number of level 10 and level 9 true immortals into battle. Any faction in the immortal world would be annihilated, let alone the White Phoenix sect, right? Of course. Patriarch Tianyi nodded confidently. Then he smiled coolly. Now let me release my celestial sense to check. Then Patriarch Tianyi released his celestial sense with a smile. Shockingly, Patriarch Tianyi's face, which was glowing red, suddenly changed. His face turned from warm red to green. Then it turned from green to dark green. Then it turned from dark green to pale white. Then Patriarch Tianyi's body trembled. His eyes bulged like two walnuts. What's going on? The middle-level immortal emperors were stunned by Patriarch Tianyi's condition. They did not have the time to release their celestial senses to check. The next moment, roar. Patriarch Tianyi's facial features were completely distorted. He let out a horrible cry as if his parents had died. In the end, his face changed again, turning scarlet red. Puff. A mouthful of blood spurted out of Patriarch Tianyi's mouth. It was like a fountain of blood. Brother Tianyi. The middle-level immortal emperors beside him rushed forward to support him. They also released their celestial senses. As soon as they released their celestial senses, their faces stiffened. Our Tianyi sect has been destroyed. Patriarch Tianyi roared as he spat out blood. Patriarch Tianyi shouted while spurting out blood, all the low-level immortal emperors of the Tianyi sect have died. Countless disciples have been killed or injured. Now all the wealth of our Tianyi sect has been taken away. Hundreds of thousands of disciples have vanished into thin air. Ah! It's all gone, completely gone, ha! Our 10,000 years of foundation has been destroyed. Ah! Back then, I was all-powerful in the immortal realm. I founded a sect and wrote a glorious legend in the immortal realm. I worked hard and finally made the Tianyi sect the #1 sect in the immortal realm. But now, ha! It's all gone. In such a short period of time, everything I've built up over hundreds of thousands of years has been destroyed. It's like a dream. Ha ha ha. Patriarch Tianyi, the crocodile-level immortal emperor who had once dominated the immortal realm, burst into tears and grieved. The other middle-level immortal emperors had also learned about what had happened to the Tianyi sect. Silence. A terrifying silence. How did this happen? More than a dozen low-level immortal emperors are all dead. Who did this? The middle-level immortal emperors were in disbelief. Suddenly, Patriarch Tianyi's body trembled. The entire palace in the sky collapsed. Roar. Everyone. Follow me out of seclusion and head straight to White Phoenix City. Crush White Phoenix City at all costs. Kill everyone related to White Phoenix City. Exterminate. Patriarch Tianyi's voice was filled with hatred that could not be washed away even with the water of 3 rivers and 5 lakes. At this moment, Patriarch Tianyi stood on a lonely peak and looked down at the mountains. Ruined, desolate, barren, silent, graveyard. White Phoenix City. I, Patriarch Tianyi, will fight you to the death. Patriarch Tianyi let out a terrifying howl that tore through the clouds. To be continued. Chapter 728. Just as Xiao Han and Bai Shi had expected, when Patriarch Tianyi came out of his closed-door cultivation and saw the miserable state of the Tianyi sect, he flew into a rage and spat out 3 liters of blood. He even let out a howl that sounded like the cuckoo's blood crying apes. YBDU terrible. Tragic. Tragic. At the same time, Patriarch Tianyi stood there on the mountain peak, stretching his neck out and crying tears of blood. He was filled with unyielding desire, resentment, and intense hatred. It was as if 100,000 volcanoes were erupting at the same time, and 100,000 heavenly dragons were howling in grief. Beams of immortal light burst out of Patriarch Tianyi's pores, shattering every inch of space. Thick dark clouds enveloped the entire Tianyi headquarters. A violent storm was brewing, and a world-destroying disaster was about to befall. Crusade. Attack White Phoenix City immediately. Forefather Tianyi said in a trembling voice. The tens of intermediate immortal emperors exchanged glances with each other. Moreover, they were communicating with each other using their immortal sense and divine will. After a long time, these intermediate immortal emperors finally chose a purple-robed elder. The purple-robed old man walked over to Patriarch Tianyi's side with a frown. Brother Tianyi, that's enough. Don't go berserk anymore. Calm down. Right now, what you need to do the most is to calm down. Roar. The purple cloud great ancestor. Calm down? How am I supposed to calm down? My life's savings and resources have all been destroyed. How can I remain calm? Sobs escaped Patriarch Tianyi's throat. It was like a heavily injured beast. However, this purple-gowned old man seemed to be someone of virtue and prestige. Thus, old ancestor Tianyi did not dare to go against him. As a result, Patriarch Tianyi's current mood was very bad. It also eased up a little. However, his eyes were filled with hatred. Too scary, Brother Tianyi. It's no use even if you fly into a rage now. Moreover, you keep saying that you want to suppress White Phoenix City. Could it be that you're not aware of the current situation? The violet-robed old man's gaze focused as he spoke. Patriarch Tianyi was stunned. The purple-robed old man continued. Brother Tianyi, don't let your hatred get to your head. Following that, the purple-robed old man's voice and attitude became somewhat stern. Streams of ice-cold aura filled the air. It immediately enveloped Patriarch Tianyi. One must know that there were differences in strength even amongst mid-rank immortal emperors. Even though they were both mid-rank immortal emperors, the purple-gowned old man's strength was clearly much higher than old ancestor Tianyi's. Thus, under the pressure of the purple-robed old man, Patriarch Tianyi did not dare to say anything. The current situation is extremely complicated, Brother Tianyi. You must calm down and listen to what I have to say, the purple-robed old man said in an implacable tone. The purple cloud great ancestor. Please speak, Forefather Firmament first said, his eyes wide. On the surface, it seems that the First Heaven sect has indeed been destroyed. Moreover, the White Phoenix sect has become more powerful and has replaced the First Heaven sect in the immortal realm. The disciples of the Tianyi Palace are now being hunted by all the sects in the celestial realm. They are as anxious as stray dogs, the purple-robed elder said. Those guest elders of the White Phoenix sect are very clever. On the one hand, they directly attack the Tianyi Palace, and on the other hand they try to win over the major sects in the celestial world. I have to say they succeeded. No, we haven't succeeded yet. Patriarch Soulsky said ferociously. We still have the strength to fight. Let's not talk about us middle-level celestial emperors first. The Tianyi Palace has been established for many years, and its foundation is deep-rooted. There are still some scattered forces scattered all over the celestial world. It is not something that the White Phoenix sect can destroy in a short period of time. Moreover, you all have your own forces under your command. If we launch a great counterattack, it is not impossible for us to turn the tide and turn the situation around. Brother Tianyi, you are wrong, the purple-robed old man shook his head slightly. You are still blinded by hatred and have not analyzed the whole situation thoroughly. Now listen to me. It seems that the White Phoenix sect's intention to attack the Tianyi Palace is not without purpose. On the contrary, it is a well-planned and far-sighted move. Secondly, it is mysterious. The origins of the foreign officials of the White Phoenix sect are extremely mysterious, and they are becoming more and more mysterious. Thirdly, the Tianyi Palace's dozen low-level celestial emperors were defeated in the most disadvantageous way, which means that the White Phoenix sect has middle-level celestial emperors, and quite a number of them. Fourthly, the White Phoenix sect has taken control of a large number of forces in the celestial world, and they are like the sun in the sky. Indeed, Brother Tianyi, as you said, we still have powerful forces. If we combine our forces, we might be able to fight against the mysterious White Phoenix sect. Moreover, we have a great chance of winning. The purple-robed old man nodded repeatedly. However, if we start the war like this, even if we win, it will be a Pyrrhic victory and we will have to pay a great price. Then, the purple-robed old man looked into the void in the distance and sighed. When that time comes, countless young immortals will perish and some of us old brothers will definitely perish as well. Sigh, roar? Patriarch Soul Sky roared angrily. Are we going to give up on revenge? Let the White Phoenix sect grow stronger? Let the White Phoenix sect grow stronger? Then, let the White Phoenix sect and us become equals in the immortal world? No. The purple-robed old man said decisively. The White Phoenix sect must be destroyed. There is no doubt about this, but now is not the time. Oh. Hearing this, Patriarch Solasky's discontented expression relaxed a little. The first thing we need to do is to go to the most barren area in the immortal world and capture that mortal, Xiaohan. We must completely obtain the treasures of the invincible blade. The purple-robed old man's eyes were filled with ambition. We have taken the mortal plane of that bastard, Xiaohan, and placed it in the barren area, trapping them. Moreover, the mortals in this plane are rejected by the laws of the immortal world, and they are living a life worse than death. Now, after so many days, I'm afraid that Xiaohan's mortal plane is already full of suffering. We must seize the time to find this mortal plane and capture Xiaohan alive. Then we must completely grasp the invincible blade's treasures in our hands. If we delay any longer, I'm afraid that Xiaohan will die. This? Hearing this, Patriarch Solasky's eyes flashed with a thoughtful look. He seemed to be weighing the pros and cons. Brother Soul Sky, if we obtain the treasures of the invincible blade, we will be able to control countless celestial artifacts and Dharma treasures. If we take out any of the Dharma treasures with the highest ranking, I'm afraid we can completely kill the traitors of the White Phoenix sect, right? Ah, so. The purple-robed old man's tone was extremely confident. First, we will obtain the treasures of the invincible blade, then we will turn around and crush the White Phoenix sect. Yes. Brother Soul Sky, as long as we obtain those celestial artifacts and Dharma treasures and distribute them to our perfected immortal disciples, our combat power will increase by leaps and bounds. It will be effortless for us to defeat the White Phoenix sect. Brother Soul Sky, we are afraid that things will change if we delay any longer. Previously, we did not go to the barren area to obtain the treasures because our celestial force has not recovered to its peak state. But now, we have all recovered. If we don't go now, when will we? Obtaining the Dharma treasures or a moment of hatred? I believe Brother Soul Sky knows which is more important. Brother Soul Sky, you don't have to worry about a moment of loss. Now, the First Heaven sect seems to be declining and almost destroyed, but it will be rebuilt after destruction. I believe that after obtaining the treasures of the invincible blade, you will personally create a more glorious, more powerful, and almost immortal First Heaven sect. The other middle-level immortal emperors also tried to persuade Patriarch Soul Sky. Good. Finally, Patriarch Soul Sky nodded. Of course I know what is more important. Indeed, the treasures of the invincible blade are more important than the First Heaven sect. The value of the entire First Heaven sect is probably not even comparable to one of those supreme Dharma treasures. Good. Now, let's ignore the White Phoenix sect for the time being and let them be proud of themselves for a while. We will directly enter the barren area of the celestial realm and obtain the treasures. Capture Xiaohan. Good. That's exactly what I mean. The purple-robed old man clapped his hands. Now, let's immediately gather all our men and lead them into the barren area of the celestial realm. Patriarch Purple Cloud, gather all our men? Some middle-level immortal emperors also expressed their confusion. Isn't this a bit too much? It's okay. Gather all our men. On the one hand, we can take advantage of the situation to integrate our men. On the other hand, Xiaohan is also an extremely mysterious guy. With the strength of a mortal, he has killed a large number of perfected immortals. This time, we can't make any mistakes in obtaining the treasures of the invincible blade. Let's all go in. Patriarch Purple Cloud's tone was extremely firm. Okay. Then let's split up and contact the immortals under our command. Patriarch Purple Cloud, we will follow your orders. On the other hand, many new cities had been built around White Phoenix City. The White Phoenix sect had taken in a large number of sects and rogue cultivators from the celestial realm. Moreover, when Baishur attacked the headquarters of the First Heaven sect, he brought back all the wealth that the First Heaven sect had accumulated over the years and gave it to Feng Huanzi so that he could win over the White Phoenix sect. Now, the reputation of the White Phoenix sect was really like the sun in the sky. Moreover, the First Heaven sect had always been a pool of stagnant water. It seemed that they did not have any plans to counterattack against the White Phoenix sect. As for the disciples of the First Heaven sect who were wandering around and running for their lives, they were being hunted down by all sides. News of the deaths of the disciples of the First Heaven sect was constantly sent back to the White Phoenix sect. Xiao Han, by Shi 87 Shi, drove the fairy artifact Jade ship and traveled freely in the celestial realm. Their destination was the Red Crane Valley. The flying speed of this fairy artifact Jade ship was indeed unimaginably fast. In just a few days, the fairy artifact Jade ship carried Xiao Han and the others and was about to arrive at the extremely secretive Red Crane Valley. Great. We are about to enter the Red Crane Valley. At most tomorrow evening, we will be able to collect the special plants. Xiao Han was overjoyed. Once we get the special plants of the celestial realm, we will return to the barren area of the celestial realm and return to our plane. To be continued. Chapter 729. Xiao Han finally arrived at the Red Crane Canyon. There were no cities around the Red Crane Canyon. It was located in an extremely desolate area. The canyon was composed of two mountains that were tens of thousands of feet high. Between the two mountains, there was a dense red mist that seemed to be unable to disperse. Master, we're here. The Jade ship immortal artifact stopped at the edge of the canyon. The 87th king closed his eyes slightly. His immortal senses probed into the depths of the canyon. Then he opened his eyes in high spirits. Master. That's right. Several kinds of immortal herbs that we need are growing extremely well in the canyon. Xiao Han also released his soul and spiritual waves to scan the area. Then he nodded slightly. Yes, there are indeed a large number of immortal herbs in the Red Crane Canyon. Wait. Suddenly, Xiao Han felt that there was a kind of plant in the canyon that seemed to have a calming effect on his soul and life fluctuations. Calming the mind? Xiao Han closed his eyes and faced the canyon, carefully savoring it. After a dozen breaths, Xiao Han suddenly opened his eyes. His whole body was throbbing and trembling slightly. Master, what are you doing? The 87th king and the BCE king were both stunned. Then they couldn't help but ask. Master, did you find some magical herb? It's not a magical immortal herb. Xiao Han said with a slightly ruddy face. I just feel that there's a kind of ordinary plant in the Red Crane Canyon. However, this ordinary plant has a calming smell that can allow me to get closer and closer to the laws of heaven and earth of the immortal realm. You should know that I'm just immortal. After entering the immortal realm, although it's disguised immortal chi, my soul and life force, I'm still just immortal. However, the plant in the canyon seems to be able to allow my soul to fuse with the laws of heaven and earth of the immortal realm. That's great. This plant is completely useless to immortals. Because the soul and life force of immortals originally belong to the immortal realm, there's no need to fuse with it. For a mortal like me, it's extremely precious. Master. I know. The 87th king immediately came to a realization. The plant you're talking about must be a type of tobacco in the immortal realm. Tobacco? Xiao Han was stunned. Tobacco? Yes. The 87th generation was proficient in pharmacology and all kinds of plants in the immortal world, so she answered with absolute certainty. In the world of immortals, the main purpose of this tobacco is to allow immortals to enjoy themselves, like fine wine, delicious food and fragrant tea. A few puffs of this kind of tobacco would make one's whole body feel comfortable. Even supreme-grade tobacco could make immortals feel as if they were walking on clouds. However, it wouldn't cause any harm to the immortal's life force. After all, an immortal's body is not something that can be corroded by immortal herbs. Oh, so that's how it is for a mortal like me. The tobacco in the immortal world can help me assimilate into the immortal world faster. Xiao Han nodded in realization. Master, once your soul's vitality merges with the laws of heaven and earth in the immortal realm, you'll become an immortal. Master, once you become a celestial being, it will be a heaven-defying thing. Baisher was also overjoyed. All right. Baisher 87 Shi, you two go into Red Crane Canyon and help me collect, Xiao Han ordered. The 87th reincarnation, you're in charge of gathering the spirit herbs needed to treat my sect master and the others. The 100th reincarnation, you're in charge of gathering the immortal tobacco. Yes, master. As soon as he finished speaking, Baisher and 87 Shi turned into two beams of immortal light, broke through the thick red mist in the canyon and flew into it. With the strength of a mid-level celestial emperor, it was extremely easy for Baisher and 87 Shi to collect the herbs. Over an hour later, Generation 87 and Generation 100 flew out. Their storage rings were already filled with the immortal herbs and plants they needed. Master, if we return to the barren areas of the immortal world now, I'll be able to refine the sacred medicine in a few days at most, 87 Sure said confidently. Bai Sure, on the other hand, took out some colorful flowers and plants from his storage ring. Master, I've collected all the tobacco in Red Crane Canyon. We can plant the tobacco in the plain. That way, the mortals in the plain will have a very high chance of becoming immortals. Moreover, the tobacco growing in Red Crane Canyon is a supreme-grade tobacco that can only be found by chance in the immortal world. It can be sold for a very high price. All right. Xiao Han took a few stalks of tobacco from Bai Shi's hand. With a thought, a whirlpool suddenly appeared on his palm. The whirlpool directly absorbed the essence of the stalks of tobacco, causing them to wither and turn into dust. Awesome. Ah. I feel that I'm getting more and more harmonious with the immortal world. Ah. With these immortal herbs, I'll greatly shorten the time it takes for me to adapt to the immortal world. Xiao Han said with a smile. What a pleasant surprise this time. Alright, we'll take our time to become immortals. Now, let's activate the Jade Ship and directly return to the barren areas of the immortal world. Yes, Master. Swoosh, the Jade Ship turned into a jade beam of light and flew back to the barren areas of the immortal world. At the edge of the barren areas of the immortal world. At this moment, the barren areas that few immortals had set foot in were filled with the light of treasures. Immortal chi and multicolored winds spread out like flowing mercury. All kinds of auras as powerful as the sun, moon, and stars could be felt. Countless giants of the immortal world had arrived. Among them, the middle-level immortal emperor, the purple-robed old man, and the old ancestor of the purple firmament were the leaders. There were also old ancestor Channy and a dozen other middle-level immortal emperors. Behind them were more than a dozen low-level immortal emperors. Behind them were level 10, level 9, and level 8 perfected immortals. Even the weakest one was a level 5 perfected immortal. There were hundreds of thousands of perfected immortals. This was all the resources led by old ancestor of the purple cloud. This was all the resources of more than a dozen middle-level immortal emperors. At this moment, all the immortals had cold faces as if they were ready for battle. However, there was a raging fire burning in everyone's eyes. Their state of excitement had reached an indescribable level. Even the eyes of the middle-level immortal emperors, including old ancestor Channy, were trembling with excitement. There were even some incense burners on the ground. These were immortals. These immortals seemed to have carried out some kind of ritual. Suddenly, it was old ancestor of the purple cloud. He exhaled and raised his voice. Everyone, I've gathered you here today to defend the dignity of our alliance. I think you all know that the mysterious White Phoenix sect has risen like a comet in a very short period of time. Then he defeated the Channy Palace and took their place. His ambition was clear. Of course, the defeat of the Channy sect is closely related to the closed-door cultivation of us middle-level immortal emperors. I believe that when we make a comeback we will definitely regain control of the immortal realm. We will kill the people of the White Wind sect. We will kill all the immortals who have surrendered to the White Phoenix sect. We will kill all the people of the White Phoenix sect. We will kill all the immortals who have surrendered to the White Phoenix sect. Countless immortals let out deafening roars, which made people's blood boil. Their raging fighting intent almost condensed into a substance, soaring into the sky. Well, I am very pleased with your fighting intent. As soon as old ancestor of the purple cloud spoke, the noisy scene quieted down. However, before the great counterattack, we have a more important thing to do, old ancestor of the purple cloud said, his eyes flashing. Old ancestor, what is it? A low-level immortal emperor under old ancestor of the purple cloud could not help but ask. After all, the matter of Xiao Han and the treasure of the invincible saber was a secret of the immortal realm. At present, only these middle-level immortal emperors knew about it. Don't ask about it. Old ancestor of the purple cloud said casually. Then old ancestor of the purple cloud waved his hand. Now march into the barren area of the immortal realm. I and the other middle-level immortal emperors will clear the way for you. We will clear the natural labyrinths and space fragments in the barren area of the immortal realm, so that you will be able to walk on flat ground. After entering the barren area, you will naturally know the whole story. Remember, the moment we come out of the barren area of the immortal realm is the moment we launch a thorough counterattack against the White Phoenix sect. Yes. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen middle-level immortal emperors cleared the way, followed by low-level immortal emperors, and then a dense crowd of genuine immortals. Most of them had already entered the barren area of the immortal realm. White Phoenix City. The level 7 creature from the alternate dimension that Xiao Han had left in White Phoenix City to guard also released its immortal consciousness, which almost covered the entire immortal realm. If there was anything wrong, it would organize a response. Naturally, what happened in the periphery of the barren area of the immortal realm was also known to these level 7 creatures from the alternate dimension. A group of middle-level immortal emperors led a group of low-level immortal emperors and a large number of high-level genuine immortals into the barren area of the immortal realm? 99 frowned slightly, and then immediately came to a realization. These guys have accumulated their strength, but they did not immediately launch a counterattack against us. Instead, I understand now. Those guys want to go to Master's plane and plunder the treasures of the Master of the Invincible Saber. They may still think that my master is still trapped in the depths of the barren area, dying. But they never expected that Master had already left the barren area, and as a foreign minister of the White Phoenix sect, personally destroyed the 10,000-year-old foundation of the Tianyi Palace. Humph! It seems that the final battle is coming. Suddenly, the eyes of 99 became completely cold and fierce. Grand Ancestor Tianyi and these guys have gathered all their people, and they want to offend Master's plane. The final battle will be held in the barren area of the immortal realm. Should we inform Master about this immediately? At this time, Feng Huanzi quickly walked in, and reported the current situation of White Phoenix City to these powerful creatures from the alternate dimensions. The development of White Phoenix City was extremely smooth. However, the strange actions of Grand Ancestor Purple Cloud and Grand Ancestor Tianyi had also caused great suspicion in all aspects of the immortal realm. Now many forces in the immortal realm are a little anxious because everyone has found that the Tianyi Palace still has a very strong foundation, and there are many middle-level immortal emperors, and they are completely capable of launching a counterattack in an instant. However, for some reason they have mysteriously entered the barren area of the immortal realm. Feng Huanzi said with slight worry. Didn't Master tell you? Master was forcibly brought to the immortal realm by Grand Ancestor Tianyi as a mortal. Now Master's plane is in the barren area of the immortal realm. However, there was no need to spread the word about this matter. Feng Huanzi, send an order to all forces in the immortal realm and tell them to calm down. Hey, these remnants of the Tianyi Palace are courting death. They entered the barren area of the immortal realm to find Master's plane. Isn't that courting death? It should be noted that Xiao Han had left a total of 50 level 7 extra-dimensional creatures in his own plane, as well as a large number of extra-dimensional creatures below level 7. With such a huge force, it was absolutely no problem to protect the plane. However, after dismissing Feng Huanzi, the 99th and the other level 7 extra-dimensional creatures did not dare to be negligent. They all sat cross-legged and used their divine souls to communicate with Xiao Han. It should be noted that these extra-dimensional creatures were all Xiao Han's slaves, because if necessary, they could use their divine souls to transmit voice to Xiao Han from 1,000 miles away. Whoosh! At this moment, Xiao Han, the 99th and the 87th generations, had finished collecting spiritual herbs and were driving the fairy jade ship to the barren area of the immortal realm. Suddenly Xiao Han's expression froze. His eyes flickered a few times and then he burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha. Master. The 87th generation and the 81st generation were puzzled. Good. Very good. Grand Ancestor Tianyi and the others have finally come out of their closed-door cultivation. Xiao Han said mockingly. They have gathered people and are ready to counterattack White Phoenix City? The 87th generation and the 81st generation were also a little nervous. No, they did not march into White Phoenix City, but entered the barren area of the immortal realm. Xiao Han's pupils shrank. It seems that they want to attack my plane directly. Good, very good. Suddenly, a violent fighting intent rose in Xiao Han's eyes. It is said that this time, the Tianyi Palace has dispatched more than a dozen middle-level immortal emperors and hundreds of thousands of genuine immortals. It seems that this is the full strength of the Tianyi Palace. A decisive battle is about to take place in the barren area of the immortal realm. Master, let's go back quickly. The fighting intent in the eyes of the 81st generation was also soaring. Good. Go back. We will follow the people of the Tianyi Palace and not be discovered by them. Then, when the people of the Tianyi Palace attack my plane, we will kill them from behind and attack them from both sides. Xiao Han waved his hand, and the speed of the jade ship became as fast as lightning. Then he sent a thought. The 99th generation, you also return to the barren area of the immortal realm immediately. Prepare for the final battle with the remaining forces of the Tianyi Palace. This time, we will wipe out the remaining forces of the Tianyi Palace. To be continued. Chapter 730. Inside the Wasteland of the Immortal World. This wasteland was a place where criminals from the immortal world were banished to the borderlands. The reason for that was because the immortal realm's spiritual energy here was extremely sparse and lacking. Moreover, the entire region was gloomy, causing one to be unable to see any hope. All that was left was despair. Moreover, the vast wasteland of the immortal world was filled with dense natural mazes and traps. Immortals with slightly lower cultivation realms would only end up trapped if they rashly entered. Then, due to the lack of spiritual chi in the celestial world, it gradually declined. In the end he fell. But now, boom, 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 boom. The turbulence in this barren region was constantly being broken and destroyed. Waves of storm-like immortal chi energy tore open a path. It led straight to the depths of the desolate region of the immortal world. Old Ancestor Tianyi, Old Ancestor Purple Firmament, and other mid-level immortal emperors were leading the way. Their auras were too powerful, like the blazing sun and the vast ocean. They casually released some energy, and it was enough to blow away the chaotic airflow in this desolate area. The low-level immortal emperors and the high-level true immortals followed closely behind him, using their movement techniques. This troop was vast and mighty, like an iron-blooded army on an expedition, and they swore to crush all existences that disobeyed them. Its power could shake the world. At the very front of the group was the top-grade immortal artifact, the void-absorbing immortal hand. At this moment, the celestial hand was guiding the army to search for the mortal planes that were scattered in this vast wasteland. It seems that back then we had taken Xiaohan, that little bastard's plane. It was extracted. The Purple Firmament Patriarch nodded slightly and said with a smile, "It's directly thrown into the depths of the barren areas of the immortal realm. The deeper you go into the barren lands, the harsher the living conditions become. Even ordinary immortals would find it difficult to survive in the deepest parts of the barren lands. I'm afraid that Xiaohan's realm is already littered with corpses. Was he on the verge of collapse? But Xiaohan has the power to kill immortals. He shouldn't be exhausted so quickly. I'm afraid he's still holding on." Yes, before Xiaohan was arrogant and domineering. He didn't take the immortals seriously and even dared to kill the emissaries sent by our Tianyi Palace. Now he must have been affected by the chaotic laws in this area. He was tortured to the point of exhaustion. If we go over now, Xiaohan won't even have time to beg for mercy. If we obediently hand over the Absolute Blade's treasures, how would he dare to resist? Forefather Tianyi coldly said. His eyes immediately flashed with a strange light as he muttered. "We are going to get some of the most powerful magic treasures in the immortal realm and set the world. Moreover, there will be countless top-grade celestial artifacts, countless elixirs and secret manuals. Our Tianyi society has suffered a devastating blow, but there is always a chance of survival. Could it be that our Tianyi society has to be destroyed before we can dominate the immortal realm in the end?" Thinking of this, Patriarch Tianyi felt that everything was preordained by karma. In the deepest part of the barren area of the immortal realm, it should have been the darkest, most desperate and most lifeless area. But at this moment there was a different kind of atmosphere. A huge piece of land was floating in the void. On this piece of land, there were lush green mountains and forests, clusters of flowers, and the fragrance of flowers as well as the blue ocean. The sky was clear and boundless. The air on the land was filled with the intoxicating fragrance of flowers and sweet leaves. Even on this piece of land there were countless living beings. And it was not the immortals who lived on this land, but the mortals. There were trillions of mortals. Some mortals were farming, some mortals were cultivating martial arts, some mortals were reading, some mortals were selling goods on the streets. There were all sorts of religions and schools of thought. In the core area of this piece of land there was a pagoda. This pagoda exuded a vast mortal civilization. This was the Yaoxia Pagoda. Everything was so out of place. A mortal plane, which should have been the most desolate plane in the immortal realm, was actually so prosperous and thriving. It was like an oasis in the desert, a lighthouse in the ocean. If Patriarch Tianyi and the others knew about this, they would definitely be dumbfounded. And the reason for this situation was the life forms that Xiaohan had left in this plane. In the sky of this piece of land, there were 50 blazing suns floating in the sky. These 50 blazing suns gave off a warm light that represented vitality, nourishing the entire plane. Moreover, this warm energy allowed the aura of the mortals in this plane to not repel the aura of the immortal realm. In this way, even the mortals living in the immortal realm would not get sick or die suddenly. In the sky, in each of the 50 blazing suns sat a level 7 life form in a cross-legged position. This was equivalent to having 50 mid-level immortal emperors protecting this plane. At this moment, these life forms were also communicating with each other using their divine will. Master and Brother Baishar have been gone for a long time. I don't know how they are now. It's okay. Although Master is still a little immature, he is a smart person. Besides, with Brother Baishar and the others around, unless those high-level immortal emperors who were on par with the old Master of the Absolute Saber make a move, no one can make things difficult for our Master. Yes, Master's plane, under the protection of our aura, is becoming more and more harmonious day by day. When Master comes back and sees this scene, he will definitely be pleased. In the Yaoxiao Pagoda, Wu Wang, Xiao Mingchu, and a large number of elites among the mortals were looking out of the window. Even though these mortals were interrupted at the moment of immortal ascension and became crippled, their minds were still extremely cheerful and open-minded. It's as beautiful as a painting. Wu Wang took a deep breath and looked at the sapphire-like sky in the distance. Xiao Han's servants are too powerful. Under their aura, this plane is almost perfect. It gives people a feeling of paradise. Alas, if there is no fighting, it would be a wonderful thing for us to die in such a beautiful scene. Dong Fangqin sighed. As soon as he said this, Dong Fangqin also felt that he had said something wrong and shook his head. Now that junior brother Xiao Han controls the treasure of immortal Emperor Zhu Dao, he will definitely set off a bloody storm in the immortal world. The Tianyi sect is already dealing with us. If we want peace, we must destroy the Tianyi sect, Xiao Mingchu said directly. Unfortunately, we can't help Xiao Han. Fang Ling shook his head slightly and sighed. In the sky, 50 level 7 life forms from the alternate dimension. At this moment, These 50 level 7 life forms from the alternate dimension. His stalwart body shuddered. Just a moment ago, they all received a divine soul message from afar. It was a message directly sent to them by Xiao Han. What? The elites of the Tianyi sect are coming to this plane? At this moment, the 50 level 7 life forms from the alternate dimension all understood the atmosphere of the coming storm. Master wants us to protect this plane and not let any mortals in this plane get hurt. 50 life forms from the alternate dimension said with understanding in his eyes. At the same time, the other level 7 life forms from the alternate dimension almost blurted out. Master told us. This time, the Tianyi sect attacked with all their strength without reservation. They have more than a dozen middle-level immortal emperors, more than a dozen low-level immortal emperors, and hundreds of thousands of perfected immortals. Master also asked us to disperse our aura so that the people of the Tianyi sect wouldn't notice us, lest they see something wrong and escape. When they are completely in our attack range, we will attack them. At the same time, Master will also lead Brother Baishar and the others to chase after them. At that time, we will form a pincer attack and completely capture the people of the Tianyi sect. Good. Great. The Tianyi sect has mobilized all their people at all costs. This battle is no less than a decisive battle that will shock the immortal world. This battle will affect the future situation and trend of the immortal world. It's not a big deal. Our attack power is no less than that of ordinary middle-level immortal emperors. The other side only has a dozen middle-level immortal emperors. On our side, if Master and Brother Baishar come back, we will have 100 middle-level immortal emperors. The difference between the two sides is as great as the difference between heaven and earth. Don't be frivolous and arrogant. Although we have the advantage in numbers among the middle-level immortal emperors, the other side has many celestial artifacts and magic treasures. If we really fight, even if we can win in the end, it will inevitably affect the mortals of this plane. Therefore, we must defeat the other side in one fell swoop and not give them any chance. Therefore, Master is right. We should first disperse our aura and show the enemy that we are weak so that they will not be wary at all. Good. Conceal your aura. The next moment, the 50 level 7 life forms from the alternate dimension, as well as the other level 6, level 5, level 4 life forms from the alternate dimension, all used the spirit turtle genuine chi to conceal their profound aura, and even disguise their aura as that of mortals. In the Yaoxiao Pagoda. What's going on? Xiao Han's servants have all concealed their aura. Wu Hu felt that something was not right. At the edge of the desolate area of the immortal realm, Xiao Han had led the 187th lives to this place on the Jade Ship's celestial artifact. Soon, the 99th lives, the 98th lives, and the 97th lives who were originally guarding White Phoenix City, also arrived. Master, we left the 92nd and the 93rd lives behind to assist Jade Bangle and White Fingzi in guarding White Phoenix City. The rest have all come, the 99th life said, his fighting spirit rising. Master, let's kill our way in. There's no hurry. We will slowly follow behind Grand Ancestor Channy and the others, and then join forces with the people of this plane to launch a pincer attack. This time our plan is... A cruel sneer flashed across Xiao Han's eyes. Annihilate them all. Annihilate all the remnants of the Channy society. Leave none alive. Yes. A large group of powerful level 7 life forms from the alternate dimension burst out with terrifying roars. Their murderous aura had already condensed into frost. Everyone activate the Spirit Turtle Natural Chi and conceal your aura. Then, enter the desolate area of the immortal realm and return to the plane we came from. Xiao Han gave an order. Then he completely suppressed his aura, which was almost like a dead tree or a mountain rock. The 100th life forms also did as he was told. Then, swoosh, 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 a large group of people rushed into the desolate area of the immortal realm. The people of the Channy Society. At this moment, the people of the Channy Society, using the void-absorbing immortal hand to clear the way, also marched toward Xiao Han's plane. Their momentum was vigorous as if they were going straight to the root of the problem. Grand Ancestor of the Purple Cloud, in about a few days, we will arrive at the plane of that little bastard Xiao Han. A hideous smile appeared on Grand Ancestor Channy's face. At the same time in Xiao Han's plane, in the Yaoxiao Pagoda, several level 7 life forms from the alternate dimension had already summoned Wu Hu and the other mortals. Guys, did something happen? Wu Hu asked a little anxiously. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Everyone please remain calm. This time, the First Heaven Society has come out in full force to attack our plane. However, Master has already seen through their actions. At this moment, Master is secretly sneaking back. When the time comes, we will pretend to be weak to the enemy. Then, we will seize the opportunity when the enemy is most relaxed and attack. This time, Master's plan is to leave no one alive. The eyes of the 100th life form were cold. To be continued. Chapter 731. At this moment, in the barren area of the Celestial Realm, a great battle that would determine the future of the Celestial Realm was about to begin. At present, everything looked extremely calm and uneventful. But it was a sign that a storm was coming. In Xiao Han's plane, all the creatures in the alternate dimensions had suppressed their auras and were quietly lurking in various parts of the plane, waiting for the enemy's army to arrive. The main force of the Channy Palace didn't need to worry about him. Almost without any suspicion, they were advancing rapidly toward Xiao Han's plane. Xiao Han and the remaining dozens of level 7 creatures in the alternate dimensions had also concealed their auras and were silently following the main force of the First Heaven sect like ghosts. Xiao Han relied entirely on his powerful soul-mind fluctuations to roughly capture the approximate position of the main force of the First Heaven sect in front of him. He led Baisher and the others to follow from behind, keeping the following distance within their ability. The main force of the First Heaven sect consisted of middle-level and low-level celestial emperors. They were all at the forefront of the team, followed by hundreds of thousands of genuine immortals. Moreover, the celestial emperors at the front were trying their best to radiate their celestial senses into the depths of the barren area, completely ignoring the situation behind them. They had no idea that there were still people chasing after them. It could be said that the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. The main force of the First Heaven sect. In a few hours we will arrive at the mortal plane. At this time, Grand Ancestor Channy suddenly burst out with a fierce roar. His eyes were full of ambition. When we arrive at the mortal plane, we can directly log in and take control of the mortal plane immediately. For us, this is as easy as flipping our palms. Then I and Grand Ancestor Purple Cloud take control of Xiao Han. Force him to tell us about the treasure of the invincible saber. Grand Ancestor Purple Cloud also smiled sinisterly. This time, the mortal Xiao Han will not be able to escape. After we capture him, if he refuses to tell us the truth and the whereabouts of the treasure of the invincible saber, it will be fine. I know a soul-searching secret skill that can forcibly extract Xiao Han's memory. However, after extracting Xiao Han's memory, he will become an idiot, and we will not be able to torture him to our heart's content. Grand Ancestor Purple Cloud's eyes revealed an extremely strange and evil expression. Xiao Han's plane. Currently, 50 level 7 dimensional beings and a large number of low-level dimensional beings had concealed their auras and were collectively hiding in a mountain range of the plane. This mountain range. It was adjacent to the Wuxia region. It should be noted that as long as the people of the Tianyi Palace were here, once he entered the plane he would definitely control the Wuxia region. In the mortal world, the core and most important area of any plane was the Devil Hero domain. The immortals would definitely know this better. Once the Devil Hero region was under their control, this plane would be ravaged and controlled to their heart's content. I can sense that those fellows are about to arrive. World 50 smiled coldly. Then he licked his lips. He's going to start a massacre. Back then, the old master of the invincible blade was so majestic and all-powerful. Now, the new master's style of doing things and his decisiveness in killing are not inferior to the old master of the invincible blade at all. As soon as he came to the immortal world, he dared to attack the number one sect in the immortal world that had stood for 10,000 years. He really inherited the legacy of the old master of the invincible blade. On Xiao Han's side. Behind Xiao Han, there were as many as 48 level 7 dimensional beings. They quietly followed Xiao Han and closely followed the main force of the Tianyi Palace, like maggots on a tarsal bone. The 48 level 7 dimensional beings also formed a huge force, a terrifying force that was powerful enough to destroy any sect in the immortal world. This was a terrifying force that could bring a fatal blow to the Tianyi Palace. At this moment, Xiao Han's figure suddenly stopped. Everyone slow down. We're about to arrive at the plane. There are still about 2 hours to go. Everyone, slow down and don't be impatient, lest the remnants of the Tianyi Palace ahead of us discover any clues and fail at the last step. A storm was coming. Finally, Xiao Han's plane appeared in the sight of the main force of the Tianyi Palace. We're here. The mortal plane. Several low-level immortal emperors flying behind Patriarch Tianyi and the other middle-level immortal emperors almost shouted at the same time. However, in an instant, this group of villains of the Tianyi Palace was all stunned. Confused. Incredible. All the middle-level immortal emperors, low-level immortal emperors, and genuine immortals looked at the mortal plane in front of them in a daze, as if they had discovered a new continent. In front of them, a beautiful plain with lush greenery, blooming flowers, a warm climate, and a romantic ocean appeared in their field of vision. It was so beautiful. It was like a magnificent scene described in a painting. However, the mortal plane should not have been like this in the first place. This was the most desolate and bitter area in the immortal world. It was a place used by the immortal world to punish immortals who had committed crimes. Even if a genuine immortal was exiled to this place, he would die after a period of time. This was because the entire barren area was dark and gloomy, but the mortal plane that appeared in front of them was so stunning. What's going on? This plane should be in a state of desolation. Patriarch Tianyi suddenly said in a confused and even a little flustered voice. What? Patriarch Purple Cloud also looked at the plane with a gloomy expression. After a few breaths, don't panic. Brother Tianyi, you are a middle-level immortal emperor, but you are so impatient. Release your celestial sense to have a look. Although that mortal plane is strange, there are only countless weak auras of mortals in it. There is no aura that can threaten us at all. After being reprimanded by Patriarch Purple Cloud, Patriarch Tianyi quickly emptied his mind, got rid of all distracting thoughts, and released his celestial sense. At the same time, the other immortal emperors and genuine immortals also released their celestial senses to completely envelop the plane in front of them and carefully analyze it. After a dozen breaths, their facial expressions gradually relaxed. They gradually relaxed as well. After their inspection, the plane in front of them. There was nothing strange about it that they paid attention to. The only strange thing was that this plane was too beautiful, like a poem or a painting. They had expected to see a plane that looked like a dry stone, but for no reason, it had turned into a bright pearl. Phew. After personally inspecting it, Patriarch Tianyi also heaved a sigh of relief. Grand Master of the Purple Cloud, don't blame me. It's just that the Tianyi Palace has suffered setbacks again and again, which has made me frightened. Now, hope is right in front of us, the only ray of light. I don't want anything to go wrong. Brother Tianyi, you are really a little paranoid. But now we have all used our celestial senses to check and there is nothing strange. Well, let's directly enter this plane. Another middle-level immortal emperor in a red robe said with a smile. However, Patriarch Tianyi was still worried. He hurriedly stopped him. Wait. At first glance it is true. This mortal plane emits the aura of mortals as weak as ants, but the mortal plane is not rejected by the natural law of the immortal realm at all. Instead, it has evolved as amazingly as heaven. How do you explain this? Well, Brother Channy, I think this is not difficult to explain. Patriarch Purple Cloud's eyelids twitched slightly. You should know that Xiao Han explored the treasure of the invincible saber like a fish in water. I think he must have obtained some celestial artifacts and magic treasures. And these celestial artifacts and magic treasures might help his plane to shield itself from the natural law of the immortal realm. Patriarch Purple Cloud's analysis was reasonable. Many immortal emperors and perfected immortals couldn't help but nod. Besides, even if there is something strange with our power, why should we be afraid? Unless the old invincible saber comes back to life, ha! Patriarch Purple Cloud burst into laughter, and he began to lose his composure. Invincible saber, when you were alive I would never dare to covet your magic treasures and wealth, but now, ha! They are all mine. As soon as he finished speaking, boom! Immortal Emperor Purple Cloud rushed directly to Xiao Han's plane like a meteor. The other immortal emperors and perfected immortals also launched their movement techniques and rushed up. Patriarch Channy hesitated for a moment, and then, unwilling to be left behind, he rushed over. In an instant, the troops of the Channy Palace all entered Xiao Han's mortal plane and entered the Wuxia domain. The supreme and violent immortal aura, like an abyss or a prison, directly enveloped the entire plane. It suppressed all living beings in the plane and made them tremble. This is the birthplace of civilization in this mortal plane, this is the Wuxia Tower? Patriarch Purple Cloud squinted at the Wuxia Tower as if he were looking at a child's toy. At this time in the Wuxia Tower, under the deterrence of the aura of these immortals, the Wuxia Tower, which had stood for countless years, began to tremble. It shook violently as if it was about to collapse. All the people in the Wuxia Pagoda, including Wu Bai and the others, were shocked by the sudden aura that was like a god descending to the mortal world. They could not exert any strength at all and were all lying on the ground, trembling non-stop. This was a kind of suppression on the level of life. The suppression of the aura alone was enough to make the most powerful mortal Wuxia collapse. Everyone calm down. Don't panic. Wu Yu tried his best to protect his divine thoughts, which were about to collapse into powder. The life in the alternate dimension hiding in the mountains outside the Wuxia domain. Let's do it. Those guys have already entered this plane. Let's wait for a few more breaths. These guys haven't discovered us. However, they have just arrived in this plane, so I'm afraid they haven't completely let down their guard. Let's wait a little longer, wait for their minds to make a slight mistake, and then we'll attack. There are a total of 18 middle-level immortal emperors and 19 low-level immortal emperors. These 37 people are their main force. Listen, later, each of us will focus on a target and instantly erupt with the greatest attack power. With the extremely condensed saber light, we will strive to kill them with one blow. To be continued. Chapter 732. After the Channy Palace's troops arrived at Xiao Han's plane, they released a little bit of their aura, and the situation was already under control. They suppressed all the living beings in this mortal plane. A feeling of having their lives in their hands surged into their hearts. There's no power to resist. Patriarch Channy's vigilance was finally completely dispelled. He deeply felt that the entire mortal plane was like an egg in the palm of his hand. If he exerted a little force, it would be crushed. There was no suspense. Ridiculous mortals. Patriarch Channy roared fiercely. How dare you challenge the dignity of the immortal realm? How dare you kill the disciples of the Channy Palace? This is unforgivable. Xiao Han? Where is Xiao Han? Come out. A ferocious smile appeared on Patriarch Channy's face. Maybe you have something to rely on. Maybe you have some secrets. That's why you dared to offend the immortal might. But now I'm here. I want to let you, a fellow who is as insignificant as an ant, understand how laughable your so-called reliance and secrets are. Xiao Han, come out and accept your punishment. Patriarch Channy's high-spirited and domineering aura made all the people in this dimension shiver in fear and shiver in fear. At this moment, Patriarch Channy actually felt proud and elated. It had not been easy for him. Recently, he had been at a disadvantage in every way, which was really frustrating. He had sent messengers to the mortal world, but all of them had been killed. The battle with the White Phoenix sect had also completely collapsed. Now he had finally suppressed a plane in the mortal world, which gave him confidence and a sense of superiority. Xiao Han, come out. Patriarch Channy roared continuously. However, The entire plane. There was no response. Humph. Patriarch Purple Cloud snorted impatiently. Enough, Brother Tianyi. Our aura is enough to frighten Xiao Han. Now he doesn't even dare to show himself. Otherwise, we can use our celestial senses to search this plane and capture Xiao Han's soul aura. Capture him directly. Another middle-level immortal emperor said with a hideous smile. The Purple Cloud Patriarch waved his hand. There's no need for that. According to the information we have, Xiao Han is very slippery and good at disguising his soul aura. We don't need to waste time and energy to search for Xiao Han. How about this, from now on, if Xiao Han still doesn't show himself, then every 15 minutes, we will destroy a city on this plane. Just now. I've also scanned it with my celestial sense. This mortal realm has a complete social system. There are countless cities, and every city has an extremely prosperous population. With a single thought, we can slaughter a city and kill hundreds of thousands or even millions of mortals. Xiao Han. Suddenly the Purple Cloud Great Elder roared. His voice covered the entire plain. The mountains and rivers shook, and his aura surged in all directions. Xiao Han, listen to me. You can turtle up and hide, but it doesn't matter. From now on, we will exterminate a city of mortals every quarter of an hour. I'm sure you have friends and relatives in this dimension, right? You can just watch them die in front of your eyes. Ah. Xiao Han, you can afford to waste time, and so can we. In short, if you hide for one day, hundreds of millions of mortals in your plane will die. Let's see how long you can hide for. When the Purple Cloud Great Elder announced that he wanted to kill mortals and slaughter cities, his expression was extremely relaxed. It was as if he was talking about killing chickens and dogs. At this moment, is this an immortal? I thought it was some kind of demon clan that sees human lives as worthless. What's the difference between this and the demon clan? At this critical moment, a young and calm voice came from afar. It was a black-haired young man in a green robe. He was slightly thin and his aura was calm. It was like wood, stone, or a deep pool. It was impossible to see the end of him. Xiao Han. He had finally appeared. The creature from the alternate dimension that followed Xiao Han kept a certain distance from him, so Patriarch Tianyi and the others could not find out what was going on. However, the life form in the alternate dimension following behind Xiao Han had already followed Xiao Han's orders and prepared the exquisite saber technique of the 100 Lives Saber Dao. As long as Xiao Han willed it, the fatal saber chi would slash through the air. Now, with a single thought from Xiao Han, he could command the creature from the alternate dimension that was hiding in the mountain range and the creature that had followed him. He could do as he pleased. Now, there are 98 supreme saber lights with energy comparable to that of a middle-level celestial emperor. They will instantly kill these arrogant celestial emperors. Xiao Han's heart was surprisingly calm. In the gray zone that bordered the celestial realm and the demon realm. In this gray zone, space and time intersected, and the most chaotic energy surged. At the same time, it was also the most terrifying energy in the celestial realm. This energy had the aura of the origin of the great path of the universe. Of course, this energy belonged to those who were strong enough. If one's cultivation was slightly weaker, as long as one was in this energy, it would be a disaster, not a blessing. One would die instantly. Only the most powerful beings in the celestial realm were qualified to comprehend this energy of the great path. 3 faint illusionary figures were sitting cross-legged in the area, allowing the never-ending energy to enshroud them. I didn't expect that the celestial realm would be in a mess because of that mortal. Now, the Tianyi society is about to be destroyed. Zishao Tianyi and the others are really idiots. One of the 3 shadows sneered. Now, should we make a move to stop this massacre? If we don't intervene, Zishao Tianyi and the others will soon be destroyed. Another shadow said. There's no need to intervene. Now the devil god has been sealed and is almost dead. The monster realm has suffered a great loss. As long as we are here, the monster realm will never be able to rise again. In the celestial realm, Tianyi and the others are arrogant and ambitious. Now it's time to clean up the mess. Let's use Xiao Han to kill Tianyi and the others. In this way, the forces in the celestial realm will be balanced. So what about Xiao Han? Xiao Han has mastered the treasures of the invincible saber. However, it seems that he hasn't mastered the core treasures yet. Now let's not do anything. Let's wait for Xiao Han to develop. When Xiao Han really mastered the core treasures, then let's take action directly. In the core treasures of the invincible saber, there are some secrets that we can't let others know. Xiao Han's appearance attracted the attention of all the people of the Tianyi society. Patriarch Tianyi frowned. The scene became extremely quiet. Didn't you want me to show up? Well, I've already shown up. Xiao Han smiled brightly. Xiao Han. Hearing Xiao Han's self-introduction, the immortals were furious. Especially Patriarch Tianyi, he was furious. Celestial light surged. His eyes were filled with hatred as he gritted his teeth so hard that they creaked. Xiao Han. How dare you kill a disciple of the Tianyi society? Who gave you the courage? Boom. Two beams of light shot out from Patriarch Tianyi's eyes. Every inch of space shattered like tiles. This was only Patriarch Tianyi's gaze. However, Xiao Han felt as if he was going to be burned alive by this gaze. Fortunately, Xiao Han had a body. He also had a celestial body. Therefore, he could resist Patriarch Tianyi's gaze. However, Xiao Han was also slightly stunned. Sure enough, a middle-level immortal emperor is too strong. If it weren't for the 7th-level alien space creatures that Master of the Invincible Saber gave me as slaves, I would never be able to defeat these big shots in the immortal realm. Brother Tianyi, wait. Great Ancestor of the Purple Cloud hurriedly stopped Great Ancestor Tianyi's murderous intent. He looked at Xiao Han slowly and said, All right, Xiao Han, since you have shown yourself now, you should obediently hand over the treasures of the Invincible Blade. In this way you can suffer less torture and we can grant you a quick death. Or, if you are willing to be our slave and allow us to plant a brand in your spirit, then you can also live. Of course, if you are unwilling to tell us the truth, then we can only extract your soul and forcibly extract your memories. Ha! Hearing this, Xiao Han laughed wildly. What an idiot. I'm sorry you got the start you wanted, but the result is not what you wanted. Oh. The middle-level immortal emperors were slightly stunned. Suddenly, Xiao Han lowered his voice and said bitterly. Patriarch Tianyi, I, Xiao Han, am the instigator of the destruction of the Tianyi society. You must know this. Ah. Today, I didn't expect you to come to me for me to kill. How delightful. Ah. What? You're the foreign elder of the White Phoenix sect. Patriarch Tianyi and the others were completely stunned. They had never thought that the White Phoenix sect would be related to Xiao Han. This was something that was almost impossible. Taking advantage of this moment of absent-mindedness, Xiao Han teleported out with a thought. In the blink of an eye, a total of 98 saber lights slashed out. Each saber light was like a divine punishment in the legends. Divine wrath. Divine light. However, each saber light was extremely condensed. When the power of the saber lights hit the target, it did not leak out at all. In this way, after the saber lights hit the target, the power of the saber chi would only affect the target. It would not leak out. This showed that Xiao Han's control of the saber principle was extremely exquisite. Oh no! The aura of death was blowing toward them. Some of the middle-level immortal emperors let out heart-wrenching screams. However, they no longer had the space and time to dodge. When the 98 saber lights slashed out, there were traces of the laws of space and time. In terms of energy, any level 7 alternate dimension life form was almost on par with Patriarch Tianyi and the others. Unless Patriarch Tianyi and the others used their Dharma treasures, they would not be able to defeat the level 7 alternate dimension life form in a head-on battle. But now the 98 saber lights were a deliberate attack. It was tantamount to a sneak attack. Bang, bang, bang. A heaven-shaking and earth-shattering scene happened. Many mid-grade immortal emperors' bodies were directly blasted into pieces by the saber light. Under Xiao Han's command, each of the middle-level immortal emperors launched a sneak attack with 2 saber lights. This allowed them to dodge the first saber light with great difficulty, but they could not dodge the second saber light. Xiao Han saw with his own eyes that more than 10 middle-level immortal emperors were destroyed, killed, and killed. Patriarch Tianyi and Patriarch Purple Firmament had both died in front of Xiao Han. At the same time, more than 10 low-level immortal emperors were also killed. Hundreds of thousands of perfected immortal emperors fell like straw under the cover of the saber lights. After a short moment of shock, Xiao Han sent out a thought, don't leave a single one alive. Before those high-level perfected immortal emperors who had been scared out of their wits could react, the dense saber lights slashed toward them like quicksilver. The high-level perfected immortal emperors fell one after another. After 10 breaths, the people of the Tianyi Palace were all killed. To be continued. Chapter 733. Under Xiao Han's meticulous plan, the surviving members of the Tianyi Palace were finally wiped out. This was the greatest catastrophe the celestial realm had ever suffered since the world was created. Even the war between the Celestials and the Demon Clan had not caused such a loss. More than a dozen middle-level celestial emperors and more than a dozen low-level celestial emperors had died. They turned into ashes and their souls scattered. Hundreds of thousands of high-level perfected immortals had died. This was a great disaster for the celestial realm. The reason why Xiao Han was able to win was that his opponents had underestimated him. After all, Xiao Han was immortal. Even if he could kill some perfected immortals, he must have relied on Dharma treasures and external forces. However, in the face of celestial emperors, the advantage of Dharma treasures and external forces would be infinitely reduced, almost to nothing. Patriarch Tianyi and Patriarch Purple Cloud were all big shots in the celestial realm. Their status was only lower than that of the high-level celestial emperors. They had also participated in many life-and-death battles with the Demon Clan. They believed that a mortal, no matter what Dharma treasures he had, was not a threat to them. Therefore, their underestimation of the enemy was a kind of subconscious. As a matter of fact, gathering so many people to invade Xiao Han's mortal plane was not a case of underestimating the enemy. On the other hand, Xiao Han's foundation was strong enough. The trump card that Celestial Emperor Ju Dao gave Xiao Han was so terrifying that Xiao Han could almost sweep across the celestial realm. Now, the surviving members of the Tianyi Palace had been wiped out, causing the whole plane to be filled with the glittering celestial corpses. Every piece of the celestial corpses was emitting extremely powerful source energy. The pieces of the celestial corpses floated like stars and emitted beautiful rays of light. It was a spectacular sight. Phew, it's finally over, Xiao Han let out a long sigh of relief. However, a strange expression flashed across the depths of Xiao Han's eyes. It was as if he was anxious and puzzled. His gaze looked into the distance. Master, Bai Shi said in confusion. Master seems a little worried. Could it be that Master has discovered something? Hearing this, Xiao Han laughed involuntarily and lightly shook his head. I don't know if I had an illusion, but just now, when we were killing the remnants of the First Heaven Society, I seem to have felt someone spying on us from far away. However, this feeling was extremely subtle and I couldn't accurately capture it. Furthermore, this feeling disappeared in a flash and I can no longer detect it. Pausing for a moment, Xiao Han shook his head. Perhaps it's because I've killed many immortals, causing the laws of the immortal world to tremble, causing me to feel a faint sense of unease. But it doesn't matter. The invincible Blade Master is a person who defies the natural order. I, Xiao Han, will also go against the natural order. No matter who it is, as long as they want to suppress and harm me, Xiao Han, I will definitely kill them. Xiao Han activated his saber will and cut off the negative emotions in his mind. His entire state of mind became like the clear sky with the sun shining high up in the sky. At this moment, Xiao, a large number of otherworldly beings flew over to Xiao Han. When they got close to him, they all knelt and saluted him. Greetings, Master. Welcome back to the plane, Master. Xiao Han smiled faintly and waved his hand, indicating that there was no need to be so polite. Then, many mortals also rushed out of the Yaoxia Pagoda. Wu Yu, Xiao Mingchu, many elite demons as well as Xiao Han's wife and son, Xiaoan, all appeared. The crowd, like stars surrounding the moon, clustered around Xiao Han. This made Xiao Han feel the warmth of a family, and his heart was extremely comfortable. Ha ha ha, junior brother Xiao Han, this time we won again. Tut, so many immortals, even a large number of celestial emperors actually died. This is too horrible. This is simply a kind of world-destroying momentum. Xiao Mingchu directly walked over and put his arm around Xiao Han's shoulder. The deep friendship between the two brothers was manifested. Now, many demons and mortals also felt a sense of security. Especially Wu Yu and the others who were supposed to become immortals, but in the end, the First Heaven sect directly interrupted their tribulation. This made them subconsciously hate the First Heaven sect, and at the same time, they also had a kind of fear and dread. But now, the entire First Heaven sect was destroyed, uprooted, as if the demons in their hearts had been killed. Now, the state of mind of Wu Yu and the others had changed like the sun and clear sky, and there was a light of enlightenment on their faces. Their state of mind had been reborn, and they seemed to have touched upon some mysterious mysteries. Xiao Han looked at Wu Yu and the others and said thoughtfully, Sect Master, eldest senior brother, I feel that your minds seem to be more perfect and flawless. Good. It's time. Suddenly, Xiao Han looked at the 87th generation again. 87th generation, hurry up and use those special plants of the immortal realm to refine spiritual medicine and let the sect master and the others take it. I have a hunch that as long as they take the spiritual medicine, the sect master and the others will definitely become immortals in an instant. Yes, master. The 87th generation directly entered the elixir room in the Yaoxia Pagoda, and Yen Lang followed behind to help him. As soon as they heard that there was hope to become immortals, Wu Yu, Xiao Mingqiu, and the others all sighed with emotion as if a lifetime had passed. Then Xiao Han said to Bai Shi, "Plant the supreme-grade tobacco of the immortal realm that we collected from the Red Crane Canyon in this plane, so that the souls and life aura of all living beings in this plane will be more perfectly integrated with the immortal realm." Yes, master. After giving instructions, Xiao Han looked again at the dazzling fragments of the immortal corpses that filled the sky. Among them, there were a large number of fragments of the immortal emperor's corpse. Once he activated the left arm of the demon emperor and devoured these fragments of the immortal corpses, how terrifying would the nourishment he would receive? How powerful would the demonic power be? Xiao Han didn't dare to imagine. With a thought, the demon god's soul, the demon god's egg, and the demon god's left arm's demon monarch's palm in Xiao Han's heart all emitted a palpitating desire, tempting Xiao Han continuously. Xiao Han's left hand trembled slightly, and he could no longer control himself. He wanted to absorb and refine these immortal corpses that were like treasures. However, Xiao Han was struggling in his heart. He knew that in the immortal realm, it was a great taboo to absorb and refine these immortal corpses recklessly. He would definitely be punished by the heavens. Xiao Han bit the tip of his tongue and dispelled the temptation that lingered in his divine soul. Then he took out dozens of storage rings and stored the fragments of the immortal corpses that filled the sky. For the next few days, Xiao Han stayed by his wife and son's side, enjoying the affectionate love between husband and wife. It was rare for him to empty his mind, away from the scheming and murderous fights, and enjoy the joy that family brought him. After a few days, the 87th reincarnation finally refined the spiritual medicine and handed it to Wu Yu, Xiao Mingqiu, and the others. Previously in the mortal realm, all the mortals who were about to succeed in seclusion but were forcibly interrupted in the end got a share of the spiritual medicine. After Wu Yu and the others took the spiritual medicine, they immediately went into seclusion. After a few days, the entire Yaoxia Pagoda was surrounded by layers of sacred clouds and celestial light. An epic and strong aura burst out and shot straight into the sky. All the mortals in the entire plane were worshipping, burning incense, praying. Xiao Han, along with his wife and son Bai Shi and the others, stood on a high mountain opposite the Yaoxia Pagoda and witnessed all this. "Master, sect leader Wu and the others are about to become immortals," Bai Shi said with great certainty. "That's right, this is an exciting moment." Xiao Han was also shocked. "We mortals practice martial arts in order to become immortals and seek eternal life. Sect leader and the others have been pursuing this path all their lives. Last time, they were interrupted by the scoundrels of the Channy Palace and ended in failure. But this time, no one will try to sabotage them again." At the same time, the whole celestial world was in a state of confusion. Almost everyone in the celestial world knew that a large group of people of the Channy Palace had entered the barren area of the celestial world, followed by the foreign elders of the White Phoenix sect. This indicated that a war was about to break out. However, many days had passed, and the barren area of the celestial world was dead silent. No foreign elders of the White Phoenix sect or the people of the Channy Palace had come out. All of this was like a huge mystery shrouding the celestial world. At the border between the celestial world and the demon world, the source of the Great Way was flourishing. Three figures who dominated the world were cultivating and comprehending the ultimate meaning of the universe. At this time, the three figures were communicating. As expected, there's no suspense at all. Tian Yi and the purple firmament, those idiots were killed. Well done, Xiao Han, to be able to control a force that can sweep away everything. Now, unless we act, no one in the entire immortal world can stop Xiao Han. Let's wait. Xiao Han has not yet controlled the core treasure of the invincible saber. Give him some time. When he controls the core treasure of the invincible saber, it will be the time of his death. Using the hands of a mortal like Xiao Han to obtain the core treasure of the invincible saber is the only way. Yes, but this guy is also very strange. Just now, he actually sensed our spying. Yes, his soul sensing ability is extraordinary. Furthermore, I sensed a very strange aura from his body. This aura seems familiar and it gives me a sense of danger. Forget it, no matter how strange Xiao Han is, his ultimate wings are not fully grown yet. Let's wait and see when he can completely control the core treasure of the invincible saber. In the barren area of the celestial world, Xiao Han's plane. At this time, the entire plain was wrapped in thick clouds of immortal qi and the laws of the celestial world. It was like a layer of light cocoon. The Yaoxia pagoda was extremely hot. At this moment, suddenly, boom, a loud sound. A ray of immortal qi descended from the sky, containing the laws of the celestial world, and directly shot into the Yaoxia pagoda. Correspondingly, soon, a figure rose from the Yaoxia pagoda. It was Wu Hai. At this moment, Wu Hai's whole body was bathed in immortal qi and the laws of the celestial world. His whole body was transforming, reborn. This kind of metamorphosis was all around. Soul transformation, essence, qi and spirit transformation. His bones, skin, meridians, internal organs and blood were all transforming into an immortal body. Then the immortal qi and the laws of the celestial world entered Wu Hai's body, causing him to suddenly have a strong immortal force. Every time he breathed, every time his pores opened and closed, immortal qi could be released, forming all kinds of shadows of immortal cranes, immortal dragons, immortal apes, around his body. Wu Hai looked dignified. His whole body shone with the aura of treasures, heavenly flowers fell from the sky, and golden lotuses appeared on the ground. Every inch of space was filled with praises. He had become an immortal. Wu Hai had become an immortal. On a mountain opposite the Yaoxia pagoda. Sect Master Wu Hai is... Bai Shi frowned slightly. Bai Shi, is there anything wrong? Xiao Han was also stunned. Then he covered the area with his soul and mind. Suddenly Xiao Han's eyes became shocked. The aura of a level 2 true immortal. Sect Master directly became a level 2 true immortal? Generally speaking, when a mortal was reborn, his body of flesh and blood evolved into an immortal body, and his soul ascended to become an immortal. Almost all of them were level 1 true immortals. But now Wu Hai directly leaped and became a level 2 true immortal. Xiao Han was puzzled. However, he soon understood. Although the sect master was immortal, he had also experienced many twists and turns, especially the training in the genius zone, which allowed the sect master to accumulate a lot of experience. The most important thing was that his first immortal ascension was interrupted and formed an inner demon. Now the inner demon was removed and he was reborn after breaking through. Naturally, he would reach a higher level. Misfortune could be a blessing in disguise. After Wu Hai became an immortal, Xiao Mingqiu also became an immortal and directly became a level 2 true immortal. Then Fang Ling, Dongfang Qin, Yen Lang, Xiao Han's 5 slaves from another plane, many elders of the Yaoxia pagoda, ancient giants and some top ancient giants, become immortals. All of them became immortals. Moreover, almost all of them directly became level 2 true immortals. When the Yaoxia pagoda calmed down, the immortal qi and dharma that enshrouded this plane disappeared. This plane had already given birth to dozens of immortals. Dozens of level 2 true immortals. Ha, sect master, eldest senior brother. Congratulations. Xiao Han directly flew up. It was a happy situation. At this moment, Wu Hai and the other immortals also surrounded Xiao Han. They were extremely grateful. They all knew that if it were not for Xiao Han, they would never be able to become immortals in their lifetime. However, they were all on the same side. There was no need to say words of gratitude. The people of the entire plain were also inexplicably moved and cried loudly. At dusk, in the largest banquet hall inside the Yaoxia pagoda, there were hundreds of banquets. There were also many celebration banquets on the other floors of the Yaoxia pagoda. At the banquet, Xiao Han said loudly, "The martial artists of our plane can cultivate with peace of mind. Now, our plane has given birth to a large number of immortals. Moreover, cultivating in the immortal realm is many times easier than cultivating in the mortal world. Yes, it was extremely easy to break through to the immortal realm in the immortal realm. If breaking through to the immortal realm in the mortal world was considered to defy the heavens and usurp fate, then in the immortal realm, one had already reached the heavens, and only needed to cultivate naturally." After the banquet, Xiao Han's wives all said that they wanted to cultivate in seclusion and use spirit herbs to break through to the immortal realm. As for Xiao Han, he also chose to cultivate in seclusion. Absorbing the vitality of the immortal realm tobacco has made me more and more integrated with the Dharma of heaven and earth of the immortal realm. I also have to strive to break through to the immortal realm as soon as possible. In this way, I can completely control Master's treasure. Xiao Han also cultivated in seclusion. The entire plane had entered a great era of seclusion. R1152s. Chapter 734. Now that things had developed to this point, it was almost perfect. Ever since Xiao Han's plane was forcibly occupied by Grandmaster Channy and taken into the immortal realm, Xiao Han, relying on the trump card given by immortal Emperor Zhu Dao, fought steadily and surely. Not only did he destroy the entire Channy Palace and slaughter countless immortals, but he also almost perfectly integrated the plane into the immortal realm. The mortal plane gave birth to the natural laws of the immortal realm. Thus, it was no longer a matter of ascending to heaven in a single step for mortals to become immortals. Instead, it was a matter of course. Now, Wu Hao, Xiao Mingqiu, Dongfang Qin, Fang Ling, and other mortals had all become immortals. The entire plane was overflowing with immortal qi. It was full of vitality. This greatly stimulated Xiao Han. Xiao Han deeply felt that it was time for him to break through to the immortal realm. He had no distractions. He swore to become an immortal. Soon Xiao Han comprehended the immortal path in the Yaoxiao Pagoda. A few days later, Xiao Han left the Yaoxiao Pagoda. He wore light clothes and walked casually in the plain. In seclusion in the Yaoxiao Pagoda, Xiao Han could not accurately sense the changes in the plain. The growth and death of all things were not beautiful. Therefore Xiao Han entered the mortal world. He walked among the streets, or climbed mountains to look into the distance. He traveled out to sea. He walked through valleys, crossed mountains. Walking in the mortal world, Xiao Han experienced the joys and sorrows of all living beings and saw the myriad phenomena of the plain. Moreover, a large number of top-grade tobacco from the immortal realm had been planted in the entire plain, giving off a curling fragrance. In a few years, Bai Shi and the others sneaked into the world outside the desolate area of the immortal realm. They transplanted a large number of flowers and plants from the immortal realm. This made the entire plain. In the streets and alleys of the major cities, there were plants from the immortal realm swaying in the wind, exhaling a delicate fragrance that made people reborn. A few years. Indeed, Xiao Han had been traveling around the plain for a few years. A few years seemed to be a long time, but in the eyes of people like Xiao Han, a few years passed in a flash. In the past few years, at first, Xiao Han deliberately wanted to become an immortal. However, later he had completely given up this idea. No desires. No extravagant desires. He had entered a state where he had no desires and no thoughts. He strolled around casually, and when he was tired he would stop. In a place with beautiful scenery, or in a city with an antique charm. Stay here for a few days. Strangely, in these past few years, Xiao Han's heart grew more and more tranquil, as if he had transcended the mortal world. Furthermore, the demon god's soul and the demon god's egg in his heart had been completely forgotten by Xiao Han. Before this, Xiao Han had always been worried. He knew that in his heart, there was a bomb that could explode at any time, causing his body to explode into nothingness. Thus, subconsciously, he had always been very afraid and wanted to get rid of this trouble as soon as possible. But now, Xiao Han had completely forgotten about this deeply buried danger. Fearless. In other words, Xiao Han had achieved a worry-free state. No joy. Thoughtless. No thought. Fearless. The highest realm. Carefree Zizai. In the past few years, Xiao Han had also received some news from the Yaoxia Tower. Wu Lu and the others had successfully broken through to the immortal realm, and were now working hard to break through to the level 3 true immortal realm. Because White Phoenix sect had now dominated the immortal realm, all kinds of resources were being plundered continuously. Feng Bangle and the two level 7 alternate dimensional beings now had a firm grip on White Phoenix sect's lifeline. Thus, every month, a terrifying amount of resources would be imported into Xiao Han's plane to provide for the living beings there. Therefore, it was not impossible for Wu Lu and the others to break through to the level 3 true immortal realm. On the contrary, it was highly possible. In addition, Xiao Han's wives had all become immortals. They were all level 2 true immortals. His son, Xiaoan, was now a martial artist in the true Qi realm with extraordinary talent. Xiao Han imparted all the unique skills he had learned from the seal on the surface of the demon egg to Xiaoan. In addition to these people, in the past few years in Xiao Han's plane, there were tens of thousands of mortals who had become immortals. Most of them had become level 1 true immortals, with a small number of level 2 true immortals. At the border between the immortal realm and the demon realm, the energy of the origin of the great Tao of the universe was filling up. The 3 high-level immortal emperors, the true overlords of the immortal realm, were absorbing the energy to their heart's content, comprehending some profound principles. At the same time, they were also paying attention to Xiao Han's every move. It's been a few years. Xiao Han, this kid is really amazing. He actually entered the state of no fear, no worries, no thoughts, the state that we immortals dream of. Haha, it's extremely rare for a mortal to enter this state. Yes, a mortal's 6 roots have not been exhausted, and they are reluctant to leave the mortal world. To be able to enter the state of no thoughts, no fear and no joy, this is indeed not easy. This Xiaohan, I really appreciate his talent. Why don't we subdue Xiaohan after we get the treasures of the invincible blade? That's true. I really can't bear to destroy such a good talent with my own hands. Forget it, if Xiaohan is willing to subdue us, then we can let him live. He only needs to worship us devoutly, believe in us, and let us plant a mark in his spirit. This way he can be spared from death. Of course, if he is stubborn, he will only end up as ashes. Let's not discuss how to deal with Xiaohan for now. During this period of time, keep a close eye on him. Xiaohan can become an immortal anytime. His soul aura has already merged perfectly with the immortal realm, and there is no distinction between them. All these years, Xiaohan has never touched the core treasures of the invincible blade, which makes me suspect that he is not qualified to open the core treasures of the invincible blade. I conclude that the core treasures of the invincible blade should be related to Xiaohan's state. Yes. Let's see if Xiaohan can control the core treasures of the invincible blade after he becomes an immortal. On this day, Xiaohan stood on the peak of a mountain. There were some farmhouses on the peak of the mountain, and it was very quiet. It even gave off the feeling of being isolated from the world. During this period of time, Xiaohan stayed in the farmhouse on the peak of the mountain. He fished every day, helped the farmers plant flowers, trees, vegetables, and fruits. At this time, it was late autumn. Xiaohan stood on the peak of the mountain. Breathing in the fragrant scent of the distant leaves and the bleak autumn morning breeze, Xiaohan felt very tranquil at this moment. His entire soul began to sublimate. Looking around, he saw trees swaying in the wind, green leaves dotting the red leaves and half-withered yellow leaves. There was a thick layer of withered leaves under the tree, and it was filled with the somber atmosphere of late autumn. At the place where Xiaohan stood, there was a pool of emerald green water. When the wind blew, a layer of ripples appeared. Shockingly, Xiaohan had grasped something extremely subtle. A very strange feeling was brewing in Xiaohan's heart. Furthermore, it looked like it was about to gush out. This is? Xiaohan was shocked. Shortly after, Xiaohan closed his eyes as if he was deep in thought. When he opened his eyes again, he deeply felt that this world, it was more colorful, more layered, and more meaningful. He saw the beauty of nature that he had neglected. Every tree, every ray of dawn, and every fallen leaf contained an inner universe, an inner eternal truth, and a beauty that transcended the physical appearance. An inexplicable feeling rose in Xiaohan's heart. The next moment, puff, there was a sudden crisp sound in Xiaohan's body. It was as if something inside Xiaohan's body had ruptured. There was a feeling of breaking out of a cocoon and being reborn. Shockingly, buzz, a crack suddenly appeared between Xiaohan's eyebrows. Then the crack opened. Boundless golden light burst forth. The heavenly eye was opened. Xiaohan had opened the heavenly eye. When he was cultivating in the mortal world, Xiaohan had reached the most critical moment of cultivating his true qi in the demon hero pagoda. He had reached the immortal eye level and was about to open the heavenly eye. However, when Xiaohan was about to open the heavenly eye, it was destroyed by the conspiracy of a middle-level immortal emperor of the First Heaven sect. After arriving in the immortal realm, Xiaohan could not integrate with the natural laws of the immortal realm because of his mortal body, so he could not fully open the heavenly eye. But now, after a few years of desireless life, Xiaohan finally opened the heavenly eye. As soon as the heavenly eye opened, the surging natural laws of the immortal realm, the chains of order, and the immortal clouds condensed on the mountain where Xiaohan was. Boom, 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 boom. Immortal qi surged and roared. In an instant, an immortal cloud the size of thousands of acres condensed above the mountain where Xiaohan was. The immortal cloud fluctuated. All kinds of strange phenomena were formed. Rays of light and auspicious aura rolled and dispersed. Every inch of the light was densely packed with characters from the celestial realm. These characters of the immortal realm were very old, so old that it was indescribable. They were like immortal characters from the ancient times. There were also countless deities sitting cross-legged. Roar! Xiaohan let out a roar. It resounded through the 9 heavens. It sounded like the cries of immortal cranes on the mountain peak. Following that, the celestial cloud transformed into beams of celestial light and shot toward Xiaohan's body like a swarm of locusts. Poof, poof, poof. Xiaohan stuck out his chest and his aura rose infinitely. His skin also became sparkling and resplendent. Rays of immortal light began to merge into Xiao Han's body. Xiao Han's body began to float in the air. His appearance was solemn. His face was calm. His entire body seemed to have been carved out of the most perfect jade. Rays of the immortal realm's laws and chains of order entered Xiao Han's body. Xiao Han began to transform. He was reborn. He was enlightened. Xiao Han's bones had transformed into something almost like jade. They were flawless and full of divine brilliance. Xiao Han's internal organs had also transformed into divine artifacts. In the area of the Yaoxiao Pagoda. At this moment, Bai Shi and the other beings in the alternate dimension as well as Wu Yu and the others were all shocked. They were floating in the void outside the Yaoxiao Pagoda and looking at the area where Xiao Han was. They saw that the vast space where Xiao Han was had turned into a piece of pure amber. It was a spectacular sight. Powerful waves of immortal power radiated over. Wu Yu's throat was choked with sobs. It's Master who is undergoing the immortal tribulation. Master is about to become an immortal. Master is about to become an immortal. Moreover, I've never seen such an aura before. I'm afraid that once Master becomes an immortal, he will be at the level of an immortal emperor. The king will rule the world. Bai Shi also roared. At the intersection of the immortal realm and the monster realm, the three leaders, high-level immortal emperors, gathered their spirits. Xiao Han is about to become an immortal. Incredible. He has directly created the immortal body and immortal power of a low-level immortal emperor. Although it was rare for a mortal to become an immortal, it was not unheard of. It was not surprising. However, for a mortal to become an immortal, directly surpassing the true immortal realm and entering the immortal emperor realm, this was something that had never happened in billions of years. The Xiao Han is really a genius. He's so amazing. No matter how amazing he is, if he doesn't surrender to us and hand over the treasures of the invincible saber, we will destroy him with our own hands. To be continued, you. Chapter 735. At this moment Xiao Han floated in the air. His body was surrounded by thousands of rays of light, 1,000 layers of auspicious aura, and many rare phenomena, like a scene from the ancient times, that was slowly unfolding in front of him. Top point. XSTXT. It was a magnificent sight to behold. At the same time Xiao Han's aura rose infinitely. Thick strands of the immortal world's nomological laws wrapped around his body, making him look like a god standing proudly. The laws of the immortal world entered every part of Xiao Han's body, constantly removing his mortal attributes and turning him into an immortal body from the inside out. Immortal soul. Immortal chi. Immortal sense. Immortal sense. Moreover, the light emitted by Xiao Han was getting stronger and stronger, more dazzling than the sun. More precious than gems. More resplendent than stars. Phew, Xiao Han exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, his heart rippling. I, Xiao Han, am about to become an immortal. Yes, and the immortal chi condensed in my body is very pure and noble, surpassing all perfected immortals. Level 9 perfected immortals, level 10 perfected immortals, their immortal bodies, immortal chi, and immortal force are two completely different concepts compared to mine. I will become an immortal emperor. Shockingly. Above Xiao Han's head, there was even a star condensed from the boundless nomological laws. There was a connection between the star and Xiao Han's soul. Emperor Star. It was said that when an immortal became an emperor, a star would appear above his head, called the Emperor Star. When the Emperor Star appeared and was refined into the immortal body, one would become an emperor and control the nomological laws. His body moved. The wind and clouds surged. At the border between the immortal world and the monster world, the cosmic origin energy surged. 3 high-level immortal emperors. At this time, the gazes of the 3 high-level immortal emperors were all focused on Xiao Han from afar. An existence that could attract the attention of the 3 magnates of the immortal world was shocking enough. Moreover, Xiao Han not only attracted the attention of the 3 magnates, he also caused them to exclaim in surprise. They even bulged their eyes at the same time. Just as expected, that kid Xiao Han. He condensed an emperor star. He became an immortal emperor in one move. The light of the imperial star not only shone brightly in the desolate areas of the immortal world, but it also caused a sensation in the entire immortal world. Although immortal emperors were at the top of the pyramid in the immortal world, immortal emperors weren't rare. However, every time an immortal emperor was born, it was something that could shake the entire immortal world. What's more, the immortal emperor that was about to be born was in a desolate area of the immortal world, a place where even birds wouldn't shit. This was a corner abandoned by the immortal world. As a result, many powerhouses from all over the immortal world flocked to the desolate area to watch the ceremony. Some level 8, level 9, and level 10 perfected immortals hurried to the desolate regions of the immortal world without stopping. White Phoenix City. Master is going to become an immortal emperor. Feng Huanzi's face was red. His entire person was also incomparably throbbing and trembling. Hurry up and congratulate Master. After saying that, Feng Bangle and the 2 level 7 creatures from the alternate dimension who stayed behind in White Phoenix City all flew toward the desolate area of the celestial world. Even Bai Yunzi and the other immortals followed them. Barren region of the immortal world. Yaoxia Pagoda. It was also surging with emotions. Hurry up and go to Master. Bai Shi roared and led more than 90 level 7 creatures from another dimension, as well as numerous low-level creatures from another dimension, toward Xiao Han's location. Immortal Emperor. Xiao Han has become an immortal emperor. Ah! Let's hurry up. Wu Lu and the other immortals were so excited that they couldn't help but want to stretch out their necks and shout. It could even be said that Xiao Han becoming an immortal was even more joyous than them becoming immortals themselves. Moreover, Xiao Han didn't just become an immortal. He had become an immortal emperor, ascending to the heavens in a single bound. In the vast mortal world there were also mortals who became immortals. However, after ascending to immortality, those mortals could only stay at the level of perfected immortals for the rest of their lives. It was impossible for them to become an immortal emperor. And Xiao Han was the first person to do so. The first person to become an immortal emperor. It could be said that the current Xiao Han was the pride of the entire mortal world. Immortal emperor. Xiao Mingqiu was also shocked, but he quickly calmed down. It seems incredible that junior brother Xiao Han could become an immortal emperor in one fell swoop, but in fact it's reasonable. You should know that when junior brother Xiao Han was still immortal, he had killed countless immortals. In the genius zone he became the #1 genius in the mortal world. In the subsequent adventures of immortal Emperor Ju Dao's treasure, he suppressed many immortal geniuses and killed immortals like pigs and dogs. After arriving in the immortal world, he planned to crush and destroy the #1 sect in the immortal world, the First Heaven Society. Such accumulation can be called mythical. Therefore, becoming an immortal emperor is also reasonable. Yes, Xiao Han deserves to be called an immortal emperor. Fang Ling also smiled. When this kid was a live target, who would have thought that he would become an immortal emperor in the immortal world? Alright, let's hurry over. Boom, boom, boom. From the side of the Yaoxia region, a dense crowd of mortals rushed towards the area where Xiao Han was. Yes, not only Bai Shi and the other creatures from the alternate dimensions, but also Wu Shi and the others who had become immortals, even the mortals and some demons in the true energy realm rushed over anxiously. In the area where Xiao Han was. Xiao Han's aura was constantly brewing. Then, boom. Finally, that imperial star was completely integrated into Xiao Han's body. As a result, Xiao Han's body was like an abyss, and supreme immortal qi spewed out from every pore of Xiao Han's body. Now, a drop of Xiao Han's blood could evaporate a vast ocean, and a breath could shatter an immortal mountain. In the immortal qi, Xiao Han's back was straight, and his eyebrows were like swords. All of it. Everything calmed down. All the fluctuations. Everything stabilized. Xiao Han began to restrain his aura. The surrounding immortal qi and the chain of order of the Dharma all converged into his body. All of a sudden, Xiao Han calmed down from his previous imposing manner. However, this kind of calmness contained a kind of innate majesty. Deep majesty. This was the kind of majesty that could be emitted without the need to release it at all. The king's descent. This was the majesty of an emperor. Although it seemed calm. However, this calmness contained a kind of mystery, a kind of unfathomable depth. In Xiao Han's eyes, in addition to the disdain, there was also a noble golden light flowing. In this golden light, there were some characters of the immortal realm rolling. But soon Xiao Han once again restrained the strange phenomenon in his eyes. Low-level immortal emperor. Xiao Han felt his current strength slightly. The power of pure immortal qi. Now Xiao Han no longer had the power of true qi. All the true qi in his body. It turned into immortal qi. However, the spirit turtle true qi could still be used. No, it could no longer be called the spirit turtle true qi. To be precise, it should be the spirit turtle immortal qi. However, it was obvious that now that Xiao Han had used the Spirit Turtle Immortal Chi to cover his entire body, the shielding effect was completely better than the Spirit Turtle True Chi. Now the power of my pure Immortal Chi should be around 1,400 dragons, Xiao Han estimated. Of course, my current combat strength is definitely not that of a low-level Immortal Emperor. If I use my Immortal Chi to activate the 100 Lives Saber Dao, I can kill a middle-level Immortal Emperor. Xiao Han was very sure of this. Strictly speaking, the 100 Lives Saber Dao was created by an Immortal Emperor. Therefore, he had to use his Immortal Chi to activate the Saber Dao in order to fully unleash his combat strength. Previously, when Xiao Han used his True Chi to activate the Saber Dao, its destructive power was average. But now, when Xiao Han faced middle-level Immortal Emperors like Patriarch Tian Yi and Patriarch Purple Firmament, he could definitely defeat them and kill them. Xiao Han could also defeat Bai Shi and the others. After all, Bai Shi and the others had each obtained one move of the 100 Lives Saber Dao. Xiao Han, on the other hand, had each obtained 100 moves. They could not be mentioned in the same breath. At this moment, congratulations, Master. You have reached the supreme realm of Immortal Emperors. Bai Shi and the other beings from the alternate dimension were the first to arrive. They all knelt down on one knee and congratulated Xiao Han. Ah! No need for formalities, Xiao Han said with a relaxed smile. Then, Xiao Han. Junior brother Xiao Han. Father. Wu Hu Xiao Mingchu Xiao Han's wife, and his son Xiaoan all arrived. Then, Feng Huanzi and the other immortals also arrived from White Phoenix City on their speed-type immortal artifacts. They bowed to Xiao Han and congratulated him. The mortal heroes from Xiao Han's plane also rushed over in droves. In addition, various forces from the immortal world also arrived. Not only did they congratulate Xiao Han, but they also brought many congratulatory gifts. Now all the forces were trying to please Xiao Han. The news that Xiao Han had destroyed the First Heaven Society had already spread in the immortal world. Xiao Han had the strength to dominate the immortal world. As long as those high-level immortal emperors did not interfere, Xiao Han would have an absolute ruling position in the immortal world. Everyone, please don't be so polite, Xiao Han said humbly. I have only reached the realm of a low-level immortal emperor. It's nothing. What was nothing? Low-level immortal emperors were not cabbages in the immortal world. At this moment, poof, Xiao Han's divine soul moved. A cracking sound came from inside his body. Xiao Han's heart trembled. He quickly looked inside himself. He saw that a black planet in his body had cracked open. My disciple, you have already achieved the immortal path. So, the fourth layer of my treasure is open to you. The core layer is open to you. You can enter the fourth layer of my treasure and obtain the strongest Dharma treasures, the complete control of millions of immortal artifacts, Dharma treasures, pills, and the soul of the 100 Lives Saber Dao. Also, there is a secret. To be continued, that you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.